Lines, Lady Gaga kidnaps Commissioner Gordon. A man who likes to move it is still searching for the perfect song. And Rod Stewart is mistaken for an elderly aunt.
This is the Onion News Network.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live. Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. It's talk radio you control, so give us a call. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. And if you call us, we'll be happy to chat with you about pretty much whatever you want to. You just have to understand we'll get rid of you if you violate the FCC rules. But there are no, taboo topics here. We can, as long as we're respectful, we'll discuss anything you'd like. In the studio tonight, it's myself, Stu.
And Riley O'Bill.
So, what's new, I guess?
Well, last week was Liberty Forum. And
that's right, they did that.
Yep, I was there. I saw Mark Edge there. Bonnie was there. I was selling some bread. And I saw Silver Dave there. We were talking about silver bits. And
cool.
I don't know if you've heard.
Did you pick any up?
I did. I've got some silver bits. And I don't know if you've heard, but he has this thing that he calls an ag mag.
Yeah, well, I've seen it. I watched his video of him down in Mexico.
Yeah.
On he's got a cool YouTube channel. Everybody go check it out. Silver Dave. And he just like ching, 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 flips them out to the cab drivers and stuff. And they get so excited that he's paying in silver and like.
I know, it's really cool to actually be able to put your hands on one and feel it and feel what they're like and put silver bits in it and see what that's like to take silver out of it. It's just really cool.
Did you get one of the mags?
Yeah, I did.
Oh, cool. How much are those?
They're like $45.
Okay. That's probably worth it if you get to pay people in silver because it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
It's very slick to be able to just whip out silver like that and pay people. And plus the Silver Dave's silver bits are from what I understand, the best deal on fractional silver that you can get. And
it's 1/10 of an ounce of 999 silver. So
they're gorgeous. They're
pretty good.
So cool.
They feel really nice. They feel really smooth to the touch. They have decorative designs that I can feel, but I can't tell what the design is because it's a little too small. But they do feel really nice.
Yeah, I picked some of those up a while back just because I thought they were so cool. And I think I still have one of the, I don't know if they're like half ounce or quarter ounce. They were one of the very first ones he was making for fractional silver. And it was, they're not highly polished and kind of rough edges and they look nothing like the ones do now. They're very sharp now.
Well, I've also heard that he's expanding his warehouse a little bit, his space, so he can make more silver.
Yep, sounds like
so. It sounds like New Hampshire is going to be flowing with silver.
Mm-hmm. I like silver too. I prefer it to gold, although gold backs are cool, and especially with them doing the half gold back now. But even those are.
They're actually doing a quarter of gold back too.
Yeah, well, they need to. They're going to have to do a 1/10 too if gold keeps going the way it goes.
Yeah, it might be a while before they get to the 10th, but gold's going to keep going up eventually, and people need to realize that gold and silver do hedge against inflation. People are going to have better purchasing power if they have gold and silver.
Yeah, it's not that gold is getting more valuable in terms of what it will get you in the world. It's that the dollar is becoming weaker and weaker all the time.
That, and I'd say that the gold and silver markets are more nuanced than just the dollar weakening. There's demand, there's all sorts of factors playing into them. So
yep, and there's newfound uses for them.
Yeah,
and various things that can affect it. I think we all know by now about the the bankers, the English bankers that control the price of gold. It was like a conspiracy theory and not true for a long time until it was, and And so now everybody knows that the price of precious metals is just controlled by a few bankers. But it looks like maybe some of their grip slipped recently with the price hiking right up there. Or maybe it was a controlled. Who knows?
Maybe.
Who knows with these guys? They do what they want.
I
when
know
they want.
silver in the last month has traded between $80 and $100. So we'll see where it goes from here.
Yep, it was well below 50 for a very long time.
Oh yeah,
it got as low as I think $13 or something.
Something like that. Maybe 11.
And so, yep.
The lowest I remember buying silver at was around $18.
Yeah, the lowest price I got any at was 17. And of course, it's never that. There's always a premium for getting physical silver because the spot price of silver is just that's what it costs to get a paper certificate saying you own some silver. But if you want to have it in your hands, it's going to cost you a little more.
Right.
Anyways, I guess what else is new? They're blowing up new stuff.
Yep, they're bombing Iran. They've been talking about this for 20 years now.
Yep.
Maybe longer.
Because they're building a nuke.
Yep. How dare another country build a nuke?
Oh, except that they're totally not.
I didn't think they were either. Like, it seems like, I mean, yeah, they're building weapons to defend themselves against Israel, but Israel's the aggressor in this war, not Iran.
No, to me it looks like Iran, I guess is how you say it, is playing this one pretty smart as far as not lashing out against the beast immediately and just kind of holding their own.
Yeah.
Seems like they're playing it pretty smart.
Trump has said that
this is not going to turn out well.
I don't think it's going to turn out well either. I know that Trump has said that the U.S. has been victorious, which who knows.
Yeah,
but also,
what did it take Bush 3 years or something to preemptively announce the end of the war?
Yep,
victory.
Pretty much.
And Trump came right out and did it within a week.
I know. He wants to get this war one and done.
Yeah,
allegedly.
Well, yeah. There's rumors too that he doesn't even want the war and he's just doing it because I've got a golden pager.
Yeah. Yep.
If you know what that reference is. Anyways.
Another thing I want to talk about is that I saw the title of a YouTube video from a talk show host by the name of Glenn Beck, and he was talking, and the title was that, this Iran war is a religious war, and I just want to point out that, okay, it might be a religious war for them, but it's also a religious war for us too, because I say us, I mean the royal us, not you and I, Stu, but for a lot of people, this is a religious war because they want to have Armageddon come so Jesus will come back, and it's the Battle of Armageddon is one of the signs of Jesus returning.
Mm-hmm.
Now that being said,
I'm very familiar with all this.
Now that being said, it's my opinion and not doctrine. So I mean, I can't establish this quote unquote doctrine here that Jesus doesn't have to come back with the War of Armageddon.
Okay.
Just because people prophesied that there was going to be a War of Armageddon doesn't mean we have to bring Jesus back with a dumb war. We can actually become better people, and Jesus is still going to be coming back. Yep. If he's coming back at all.
Best I can tell, all of this biblical end of times Armageddon stuff is things that were written down by men and then set up and carried out by men. And it's just a plan that a small group of people want to carry out, and they've been working at it for allegedly thousands of years, but it may be as short as 800.
I think people want a messianic
has any credibility.
Yeah, people want a messianic figure to come save them politically, spiritually, or whatever. And Christians say that Jesus was the messianic figure, and the Jews didn't recognize it.
Everybody wants a great man.
Oh yeah,
but Jesus isn't even supposed to be that great man. He's not. The second coming's not supposed to be what saves you. Jesus already saved you. If you're a Christian,
yeah,
he already did what was necessary to save you, and all you have to do is take him into your heart, and then you're saved.
Yeah.
So why
take him into your heart and follow him?
So why do you need him to come back? You don't even need him to come back. If you're truly saved by Jesus, you don't need a second coming.
I think people want him to come back so he can cleanse the world of sin.
Yeah, but I think Jesus would advocate that you just do it. That you just demand an end to it. Quit participating. Quit playing games. Quit,
Yeah, instead of saying, "Oh, we need to get rid of pornography," maybe you should not watch porn in your own life. And
there you go. Just don't look at it anymore.
Maybe you should, if you believe that God told you not to drink coffee, then don't drink coffee. Do that for your own self. Don't wait for someone else to do it for you. Don't wait for the world to be cleansed of sin. It's always going to be here. That's what free markets do.
Mm-hmm. And if it's a Jesus thing, ask Jesus, should I, is it okay if I engage in a little pornography today, Jesus? And if Jesus tells you no, then don't do it.
Yeah.
And, use that as your guide. But certainly people got to quit hoping for a great man to come and save them and put everything right.
Yeah.
This is a big part of the reason I kind of had to turn in my anarchy card because people just aren't, I was a little too optimistic, I think, of people's ability to be good without anyone making them do it. So,
why do you think people need someone to make them be good, though?
Because, let's see. That's a pretty good question. Why would people need somebody to make them be good?
Do you think it's conditioning?
I think a lot of it is conditioning. I think this is something that has been kind of bred into the epigenetic expression of humanity, to where you're not encouraged to think for yourself or to do anything differently, right?
Or question authority.
4 out of 5 dentists recommends Crest, and what the hell is wrong with that fifth one, and why isn't he recommending Crest? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get in line, kind of a thing. And I think I don't know if this goes back to our tribal roots when, like, you had to do as the other hunters did in order to be successful at the hunt, or if this is just a new thing that came out of public school and learned helplessness. I know, like, all the biblical end of time stuff, that doesn't go back thousands or even hundreds of years, like less than 300 years. This is it. In the world stage, it's a relatively recent thing that they've been talking about. All the end of the world is coming in the second Jesus and all this stuff.
Yeah.
So it's, I don't know. To me, it's pretty clear. This is just some stuff that people want to do, and they act like it's God's will, which is no different than, Son of Sam or whatever. Like God told me to do it.
Yep.
Yeah, sure he did.
Yeah.
God's telling me that you're a little nuts.
Muslims would say the same thing, that their God told them to do things too. And so it's just a religious war, and religion is just a subjective experience. Religion is supposed to, in my opinion, teach people how to be better people and point them toward the divinity in humanity instead of, and help them, and religion is supposed to help people take care of the poor and point people toward divinity, as I was saying earlier, but it's not doing that. It's creating a war. It's creating a comparison contest of my God can beat up your God. And I see this within Christianity. Mormons have been deemed a non-Christian for who knows how long, and they just want to be accepted by the Christian world. And so, it just seems like Christianity is also a mess, just like Islam, just like every other religion, and we're all fighting against each other, trying to do a comparison.
Yeah, that's because all these religions become more like social clubs, and it becomes more about whether you're accepted. When the whole idea of the Jesus thing has nothing to do with, a physical church that you go to or a group of people or anything. It's a one-on-one relationship between you and Jesus.
Right, exactly.
So I think, most Christians are getting it wrong. I get the feeling that things are similar in the world of Islam, where you have a bunch of, you got Sunni and Shia, right? But then you got a whole bunch of divisions within those two that also differentiate a lot of things, right?
Yeah.
So, not all of them even do the women have to cover their face, and, they all have very different cultural rules. So, I don't know. To me, all religions anyway were aimed at getting people to be good without anyone making them, right? It was a celebration of doing what's right.
Yep.
And anytime you have a club, somebody's going to come and hijack it. And
I know, and you got to be in that proper club, otherwise you're not good enough. You're going to hell.
Mm-hmm. And Jesus never said, you got to build me a church. He didn't say go. In fact, I think he probably would have said this is a bad idea. Don't do a Church of Christ. Well,
I don't know. That could be argued because in Matthew 16:18, he talks about building a church on a foundation when he was talking to Peter.
Yeah, but what kind of foundation is he talking about?
Revelation. That's the way I would interpret that.
So like an ideological foundation.
I guess maybe, but I think it comes down to having the Spirit, or how would I put this in terms that people understand? Like having the ability to connect with the divine in order to receive that revelation or connection with the divine on what you should do with your life and how you should govern your life with principles. That's the way I would look at it.
I'm a little rusty on the old sticks, but one of the things that Joseph Smith liked and that I kind of liked too was the notion, and I'm pretty sure it came from the Bible somewhere, that wherever you go and if God is with you, then his temple is there.
Yeah.
Right? And so that was like Joseph Smith's idea of the sacred grove and stuff. You just go out in nature all by yourself. There's no one but you and God, and that's a temple.
Yeah.
So to me, it seems like, a dedicated place or a dedicated group of people is not, it's not necessarily against the teachings of Christ, but it's certainly not necessary to celebrate the teachings of Christ, if that makes sense.
That makes sense, yeah.
It is quite disturbing to me, though, that the military leaders have been telling the soldiers this is a religious war.
I know it is really disturbing, but they're making it a religious war because they're claiming that the Muslims in Iran are making it a religious war, and maybe they are, but you're also making a religious war, and your religious war isn't any better than theirs.
No. It's such a mess, right?
I know, it is, and we should be doing better, but we're not, and we can't be complete anarchists without rulers because, people have been conditioned to believe in authority.
And I'm still confused as to why I guess I kind of get it. I'm confused as to why it still holds with so many Christians that they should have this weird, like, protectionist feeling over Israel and Jews in general, like they know the truth. Jesus has been here, and they don't tell the Jews they're wrong because that would be impolite. But they have this weird kind of, I don't know, like Big Brother sort of complex about Israel.
Well, I think it comes back to,
for some reason they feel like they always got to be on Israel's side.
Yeah, I think it comes back to the quote-unquote blessings that Israel was supposedly promised in the Old Testament were in the Torah. And I think that Islam and Muslims have something similar. They believe that Ishmael was the rightful heir of God's blessings instead of Isaac. I think it comes down to this war.
Yeah, but it's all nonsense because
I agree.
Because you and I both know that God's real chosen people are the Mormons.
Yeah, exactly.
That's the they are the most white and delightsome, and they are God's chosen people of the lost tribes of Israel. They are Jews.
Yes, they're bringing Israel back together again.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, let's see. You want to read a story about this?
Let's do a story, man.
All right. This is Activist Post because I like this page.
It's a pretty reputable news source.
This story is titled "Iran: The Last Stance Against Baal," or Baal, or however you pronounce it.
I've heard it pronounced Baal. I've heard it pronounced Baal.
Mm-hmm. Beals. Here we go. Alexander Tugin argues that the U.S.-Israeli attack on Iran signals the collapse of international law and a new era where global politics is governed by raw power. If Iran fails, it could embolden similar actions across other states, especially Russia. What happened on the first day of the U.S. and Israel's war against Iran fundamentally changes the balance of power in the world and the rules of international politics. Trump has already said that the international law does not exist. What is moral is what I consider to be moral. In principle, in the wake of the abduction of Maduro and the establishment of direct external control over Venezuela, and now after the strikes on Iran, with the targeted destruction of the military, political, and religious leadership of the country, a sovereign power that was willingly in negotiations with the United States, it is no longer possible to talk about rules, laws, or any norms of international relations in the world. Indeed, now only the right of the strong, the right of the quick applies. Whoever strikes faster or acts faster is right. Everything else becomes merely supplemental justification. That is, it is now important to strike a decisive blow against the enemy, break his resistance, destroy his leadership, and strike at his main military and energy facilities. After that, you can frame it however you want, justify it however you want, and spend a long time sorting it out. And that is how they do these things.
Yeah.
They just go in, blow things up, break a bunch of stuff, piles of bodies, and then they're like, well, we had to because of this and that, and they get to make up the story as they go along. Meanwhile, if you look into it, reality doesn't match up anywhere near the story they give you.
I'm not saying that the Iranian government was a good government or that the people in Iran are doing well under their current government.
I don't see a lot of evidence that they were worse than the American government.
Sure.
And people are like, oh, they're starving their citizens. And I'm like, the United States had them under sanctions. How are you going to blame that on them?
Yeah.
Like the United States was starving them.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Maybe they were a bad government. Maybe they're good. It's really hard to find anything
But
out.
then again, our government's a terrible government too. So, I mean.
Certainly I don't support, like government. So government's all messed up because you can't have somebody making rules for somebody that they don't know.
Right.
And that's where the problem lies, because you're going to take away consent of people in externalized circumstance that's different than what you're prescribing the rule for. And a lot of tragedy happens that way. Not to mention all the corruption, fraud, and abuse that goes along with such large consolidation of power.
Yeah.
Give us a call. Let us know what you think. 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
Some of you have wanted to support Free Talk Live's mission on a monthly basis, but don't want to support Patreon. Now we have an alternative that also helps our premier streaming platform, Odyssey. Visit video.freetalklive.com and click Join at the top of the channel. You can subscribe for $5 per month, and unlike other subscription services, Odyssey adds their processing fee on top, so it'll cost a little over $5 per month, but Free Talk Live will receive the entire amount you pledged. Higher donation tiers are available if you're feeling so inspired. You'll get a special membership badge that's visible in the Odyssey chat room, and if we get enough supporters, we may enable members-only chat. This new subscription method is a great way to decentralize our direct listener support away from just Patreon and also support a libertarian-run business, Odyssey. Please visit video.freetalklive.com and click Join to subscribe to our Odyssey channel and help support spreading our message around the planet. Visit video.freetalklive.com and click Join today.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer with a look back at some of the week's top stories. The International Energy Agency greenlit the release of a record 400 million barrels of oil from emergency reserves in a bid to curb rising prices sparked by the war in Iran. FSN's Tony Waterman reports from Washington.
It's not clear what types of oil will be made available or how quickly it will hit the market. That will ultimately determine how impactful this release is. But it is the largest joint release in the IEA's history, accounting for roughly a third of the group's emergency stockpiles, an indication of how serious of a situation they believe this is, with concerns of a global recession rising. Oil prices have whipsawed since the start of the war, spiking as high as $119 a barrel. News of the release had little impact on crude prices, the decision already baked in.
Donald Trump said he was not happy with Iran's new pick for supreme leader. But in an interview with the New York Post, he refused to say what he would do about it. Mujtaba Khamenei was chosen by a group of clerics to replace his late father, who was killed on the first day of the war. FSN's Nick Harper reports from Washington.
Bear in mind that Mujtaba Khamenei is someone that was sanctioned back in 2019 by the US Treasury Department due to his activities in the Iranian regime. The US has, throughout this whole process, made it clear that if the person that Iran chooses to run the country is not someone that's been specifically signed off on by the US president, that person would have a target on their back in the same way that the former Ayatollah had as well. The fact that we have now someone in charge of Iran that the United States feels it cannot work with, there seems, I think, little hope for diplomacy, and therefore the fear is that what we've seen in the last 10 days will only grow and potentially widen.
The Kremlin welcomed the U.S. decision to issue a temporary waiver allowing the sale of Russian oil at sea. FSN's Daria Bondarchuk reports from Moscow.
Moscow's Special Economic Envoy Kirill Dmitriev said that the U.S. exception for countries to buy sanctioned Russian oil stranded on tankers at sea is a de facto recognition that without Russian crude, the world market cannot remain stable. Under the 30-day waiver, these shipments can be delivered and sold until April 12. Earlier, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the exemption would only cover oil already in transit and would not provide significant financial benefit to the Russian government. The Kremlin, commenting on the U.S. Treasury decision, said Russia and the United States share the same interest in stabilizing energy markets.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Talk radio you control. All you have to do is call us at 603-283-6160 and you can get your thoughts on the air. Forkfest 2026 has had multiple changes. Please pay attention as this info may be new to you. June 22nd through 29th at the Northern Waters Outfitters Campground in Errol, New Hampshire. The owner has offered to host 100 campers at his campground, which is being closed just for Forkfest. Anyone else who'd like to stay in the surrounding area may come for a free day pass. The only real restriction he's given us for this event is no nudism, which I think we can deal with after the crazier restrictions Rogers started imposing. Forkfest.party for more info and Forkfest 2026 at gmail.com to sign up as one of 100 campers. If you're listening and it's Pi Day, also known as 3/14,
Yep.
then we are live and you can give us a call.
Happy Pi Day.
As this person has done from San Antonio, Texas. You're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
You know what allows people to make rules for others? Objective value.
Are you okay, Skeeter? Just the way the way you started that, it sounded like you might be vomiting or like something's not okay.
I change my intro from once in a while. Stu, you can't have objective morality. You can't have objective morality without objective value. You know that, Stu? Have you ever thought of that? I know you don't think for yourself,
but probably help to think about that.
You know that,
and it's not that everyone.
How do you know that? How do you know I don't think
I've
for
seen
myself?
you because you just regurgitate the same things I hear over and over again.
Oh, is that right?
Like you don't you're talking about morality. You don't even have a sense of morality.
Oh.
Okay.
So what's morality?
How do you derive morality?
That which doesn't cause harm.
Morality was given to us by evolution to align with its goal. How
do you define it?
Morality is a tool given to us by evolution in order to align our actions with its goal.
With its goal.
Yeah,
with evolution's
with an evolutionary equilibrium. Yeah.
Evolution has
I thought evolution was just a process.
Being.
So evolution has wants?
Yeah, what do you think it's processing, huh?
Wait, so evolution is a being? It's a sentient being.
It's in terms of equilibrium. Like I just put the term desire on it, but it's an equilibrium that's we're being pulled toward, and our actions are always getting corrected toward this.
How do you know
that? Just like God were
to... What's your evidence for this?
You could calculate it with game theory. You can Google it, Stu. Google the relationship between morality and evolutionary stable strategy. But this is not what I want to talk about.
Well, I'm sure it's not.
You know what I hate most?
You just want to spout some nonsense and then move on to something else without explaining yourself.
I want to talk about something profound, right?
Oh,
something profound I'm discovering, right?
All right, let's see.
You know what I hate most about Bitcoin maximalists? You know what I hate most about Bitcoin maximalists? And it's the main reason. Yeah, neither are Bitcoin cashers. Or Monero people.
Yeah, if you're strictly for one crypto, you're probably not very smart.
Yeah, that's okay. What makes the perfect crypto then? If you think for yourself. I like where you're going with that.
A competition in the money market?
Yeah, but you should be able to derive from objective value, right? The objective properties
not all
of
value
money
is subjective.
Because what I want a crypto coin to do may not be the same thing that Riley wants a crypto coin to do. So we value them differently.
That's different. So here's your problem, Stu. You keep talking about people's opinions differing as proof that value is not objective, right? First, value is the ultimate cause of prices, right? It will explain equilibria, right? It doesn't mean people will value things differently. So subjective value is what your opinion on what you prefer. Objective value, on the other hand, is what you should prefer, right? It's not dependent upon your opinion. And it can probably be calculated by someone else. And that's how planning for others comes about with objective value. But it's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about what makes Bitcoin fallible. Why I hate Bitcoin maximalists so much, right?
Yeah,
they think that deflation is that not only does a perfect money need no privacy, it needs to eliminate privacy because it needs to measure objective value and productivity, right? But it's the fact that Bitcoin maximalists think that deflation is the natural state of a monetary system. It isn't. Because I just discovered the perfect monetary growth mechanism of the perfect money. Right?
Okay.
So
what is
you
it?
agree with that, right? Deflation is not a natural state, just like inflation. These are two sides of an unoptimal. These are two ends. These are both deviations from the most optimal thing.
They're both synthetic and artificial in that they're constructs
and they'll always be corrected by evolution.
They're constructs of human ideas.
No, they're not. They're not constructs. They're perceptions. They're perceptions of actual things that.
Well, money doesn't exist in nature.
Yes, money's reputation. Money is just reputation. You got to realize that. That's why privacy will never work with money, because it inhibits information and information about your reputation.
That's not accurate.
Your money is your productivity reputation.
That's not accurate, though. And
society gives you reputation to go ahead and command goods.
Not in a natural state, though.
Because
this is just what we've set up amongst ourselves. It's not. It doesn't exist anywhere else in nature. It's only a human thing.
Yeah, it does. Yes. Does reputation exist in other animal kingdoms?
Yes, reputation, yes, but you can't spend that. You can't spend yourself out of reputation and because you were addicted to drugs. You know what I mean?
What's it? Say that again.
You can't spend yourself out of reputation if you're, top chimp in your troop, because you wanted to spend it on hookers and blow.
Look. I'm talking about the.
If you have your reputation, you just have it.
We're starting to deviate. I'm talking about let's get away from what money is, right?
We're deviating because I won't let you run through your nonsensical thing that builds on fallacy after fallacy and leads to.
I wanted to talk about something more profound. I want to talk about
to be able to make sense out of it, though.
Okay. The optimal money growth in a money, right? It needs to grow with GDP, right? You don't want deflation. You don't want inflation. You want stable prices, right? You don't want a money that encourages you to hoard capital, right? That's what deflation does.
So you think
it makes you artificially want not to invest your money.
That's not a horrible idea, tying a currency to the GDP.
What's that?
That's not a horrible idea.
It's not only not a horrible idea, it's the perfect idea. And guess what?
It's far from perfect, man.
Wait. There's two parts to this, Stu. Hear me out. Not only do you need to increase the money supply according to the growth and contraction of GDP, but you need to allocate it properly, right? When you create this new money, where should it go?
Yeah, you're gonna have a hard time with that because so much of what makes up GDP is just nonsense and fluff. It's not nobody actually making anything. I'm not talking about our conventional GDP metric. I'm talking about actual productivity, evolutionary productivity toward the perfect evolutionary being. Yeah, we're never going to agree on what that is, though.
What's that? No, whatever money measures it best will survive.
Where can I get in touch with evolution and ask it exactly what I should be doing?
Jump off a cliff.
What?
Jump off a cliff. Have your whole genetic family jump off a cliff.
Why haven't you done this?
And you'll see evolution's face right before you hit the ground.
Why haven't you done this?
But no,
how do you know what evolution wants then? Have you jumped off cliffs?
I use game theory. I can use mathematics unlike libertarians.
Oh, well, then why wasn't that your answer? Why do you suggest suicide?
So look at the second half of the money mechanism, right?
He is a little weird.
When you create or destroy money according to production, right? Let's just say it measures productivity nicely, right? You have to allocate it properly, or else it kind of defeats the purpose, right? Like you guys don't like it when government prints money and they just use it to fund wars, right? You want since this is reputation, you want to allocate that new money to those responsible for the growth or contraction of GDP. So all you have to do is double profits and losses on every transaction. And that's the perfect money mechanism. But you need to eradicate privacy to accomplish this, right? You need to see what people invest in when they take on a business project.
Whoa, this might be the most nonsensical thing you've said so far.
What are you talking about?
That you got to double losses or gains on any venture. So how are you going to determine what's the value of doing the venture? You know what I mean? So like what?
When you eradicate privacy, right, on the public, this is what the public blockchain was meant for.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's meant to show everybody the history of your actions.
Yeah, our actions.
A credit score, a social credit score, will be able to evaluate all your actions, including your investments in your business projects, what capital you've used in your business, and what it produces versus what it produces.
And I would be fine with that
then
too.
It can calculate.
Except that Skeeter doesn't get to decide what boosts my score and what doesn't.
Here's the beauty of my crypto social credit score. There's a competition of scoring systems.
Oh, really?
You can create your own scoring system that evaluates everyone's actions. If you want to predicate it on non-aggression and hippie bullcrap, right? You're free to do so. But evolution will punish you if it does not measure productivity accurately, because you will misplan if you choose to use their credit score. And you know, the other beauty of my social credit score system is that you don't have to pick which social credit score to spend in. If you since they all credit scores. Imagine you have a credit score, right? You develop a credit scoring system, and I've developed my own that tries to measure evolutionary productivity, right? When you spend in one currency, since it's on the public block, since they both translate the public blockchain, once you spend in one currency, you also spend in the other, right? So someone can price their goods in my system, and you can spend in my currency, but it also affects your reputation in the other currency. So you don't. Number one, there's no theft because there's no privacy. You can't steal reputation when it's public. Number two, you don't have to worry about which coin you're investing in all the time. When you have a lot of money, this is a problem. You don't want to have to worry if you're in the right crypto all the time. You don't want to have to worry about storing seed phrases and passwords all the time. You don't have to. This is the perfect currency. There's no inflation. There's no deflation. So there's no artificial incentive to hoard or invest, right? It's perfect. If it's most profitable
hoard?
here, you should invest.
By hoard, do you mean save?
That? No, not invest.
What's your opinion of what they call...
There's a difference between investing. There's a difference between investing and hoarding, which is not doing anything with capital, which is what deflation encourages.
Now, what's your opinion on what they call private capital formation?
I don't know. That sounds like the venture capital. What is it? What is that?
Just like when somebody saves up their money in order to start a business without having to ask the bank for help.
Oh, well, if it doesn't, all I care about is productivity. If borrowing money would
but they have to hoard, in your words, in order to get to that point.
You said they're trying their best not to go to the capital market to borrow money. I don't understand that, unless it maximizes productivity somehow. That's all I care about, right? If you being too stubborn to go to the capital market and trying to save up
fractional reserve lending decreases productivity.
Not necessarily, stupid.
Sure it does.
No, it doesn't.
How doesn't it?
No, it
it's
doesn't.
robbing from all of us. It's making us all have to go to work for more hours and buy crappier stuff.
Wrong. Let me tell you why you're wrong, because you don't understand. You never studied real economics, right? When you print money, that doesn't guarantee prices go up. You understand that, Stu?
Yeah,
it depends how you distribute the new money.
Yeah, if you print it and leave it in a box, it doesn't affect prices.
No, not only that. If you
give it to the bankers and they just leave it on their balance sheet.
Let me give you this. If I double the money supply, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I redistribute the new money to more productive people, which doubles output. What happens to prices?
You distribute
stay the same.
No, so those people are consumers, though. Right? And so
consumption is also production.
And so they're going to spend those newfound dollars into the economy with half of the scrutiny that they previously did.
What are you talking about?
That's what causes the price to go up.
Prices stay stable.
They're willing to pay more for things because now they have more.
In evolutionary
causes inflation.
Economics, there's no consumption, right?
What?
There's no consumption in evolutionary economics. There's only production.
Nobody's going to eat.
Yeah, that's part of production. That's a capital investment, right? You're investing in yourself so that you can live to work, right? You eat to work. You eat to breed, so your kids can work.
Eating is consumption.
Well, you have to look at it in its real form, right? Why are you eating? You're maintaining your body capital.
You're telling me nobody's going to eat for joy?
Produce kids. No, that's a malfunction. right? we know that's an evolution. You can do that, but that's not efficient, especially when it doesn't line up with. Why did evolution gave us taste buds?
Do you ever do anything just for the joy of it, Skeeter?
To detect, of course I do. I malfunction. That's evolution cannot program us automatically perfectly, but it'll correct our behavior.
Why would that be perfect?
Perfection.
What in your mind makes you think that would be perfect? A life completely devoid of joy?
You're not asking why did evolution give us?
Because I'm more interested in the philosophy than I am the nuts and bolts.
That's your problem. That's why Austrian economics fails.
That's your problem.
Philosophy
because you won't philosophize about it. You only ask what works and not what would be best.
Tell me, Stu, what has philosophy produced that science and math and economics hasn't already outperformed it in? What has philosophy done? It doesn't do anything but confuse people. There's no logic. Logic's already handled by math. Everything else is handled by science and economics. There's no need for philosophy, right? You're doing things inefficiently. This is why you don't know game theory, right? You're studying I don't know what philosophers, or you're just sitting in your armchair and thinking you're thinking, when there's already analytical tools that smarter people than you have already developed that you refuse to look at.
You're telling me that Platonic thought is obsolete?
No, it's already developed by mathematics.
Platonic thought is not mathematical.
Pure logic and what's that?
That's not a mathematical thing.
Math isn't just about numbers. Math isn't just about numbers. It's pure logic. Arguments in the realm of mathematics. Making an argument. Writing.
Is that why they're imaginary numbers?
That's beyond you, right? I don't want to get into number theory. That's not philosophy. Forget philosophy, right?
Plato is heavy on the logic side of things, but there's also
a question, right? Why do you think evolution? Why do you think you have taste? Like there's a reason why all humans don't value eating poo-poo, right? And flies do. There's a reason. There's an evolutionary reason for that, and you choose to ignore that. You're not even looking at it, staring in your face. All our tastes of food are constrained within a very small percentage of what exists in the world. It's what's edible. That's objective. It's nutrition, stupid. Right?
Yeah.
Evolution gave us taste buds to be attracted to macro.
I get that, but sugar isn't nutrition and it still tastes good.
That's just because technology is faster than genetic evolution. It takes a while for us to correct through natural selection. Eventually, we'll have the perfect.
I really can't.
It's simple like the evolutionary thing. What are you reading? Are you trying to think too much on your own? You're not looking at. You're not. I mean,
yes, I'm trying to think too much on my own. I need your help, Skeeter. Please help me think.
Like you're not like we're deviating from the topic. I just gave you the most profound monetary mechanism, right?
No, it's nonsensical.
The doubling.
It's nonsensical because how do you? Because you're just assuming that prices are concrete, that they're just going to automatically be set, but they're not. You have to allow.
What are you talking about?
You have to allow enough of the marketplace to interact and input what they assign value on a dozen eggs at. In order to determine what the average of that is, and then get your price of eggs.
No.
You can't just say eggs are worth $2.34. It doesn't make any sense. Like, that's not how this works, man.
No, there's an objective value to eggs. There's an objective value to each good and how it's used.
There's a subjective value to eggs.
The market first works with prices.
A person who's allergic to eggs values them at a negative value, whereas I value them at somewhere positive.
So everything's all value is derived because the goal is objective, not the means, right? So let's say both of you are in different positions, right? Let's say you had to evacuate the house. The quickest way out, or the most optimal way, which would save most lives, is objective. What you should do might be different from Riley because of your physical positions.
All right, here's why philosophy is important. Because in Skeeter's world, all we look at is the the end of the journey. And we never look out the side windows and see what's going by us. We never enjoy the actual journey part of it. But the journey is the destination. That's what you're doing.
And we never talk about how we get to that end.
No, it's not.
That is the only point of life, is to just live it.
The point of existence is to enjoy it.
Here's the problem, right? You can't have more than one goal, one ultimate goal. You can't have more. It becomes irrational at that point if you use logic, right? Because if you have more than one goal, they can contradict each other.
Sure.
If your goal,
an individual should probably have the highest goal for that reason, yes. But that doesn't mean that all of our goal has to be the same.
Yeah, because it starts not to make sense.
How does it not make sense? It makes perfect, beautiful sense.
I keep exposing one of your goals, right? You don't want to be free. Right? You guys claim to be libertarian, but anytime there's an opportunity to be free, like seasteading, right? You can defend yourselves, right?
That doesn't work.
There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee someone's going to aggress against you. Everyone's going to leave you alone. There's nothing for you.
No, they will not.
There's nothing to take from you over there. There's nothing for you to take over there.
They will blow you up immediately.
I guarantee you'll probably die before someone aggresses against you out in the sea.
Well,
I'd make that wager.
Tell that to that couple that set up shop outside of Thailand and got, threatened to be blown up.
They set up shop in their territorial waters.
Oh, come on, man.
You have to go 400 nautical miles out to sea. You think I could just go out 1 mile out to sea from
how
the
about
US
you
coast
try
and
it,
not
Skeeter,
be
and tell
bothered
us
by
how
the
it
US
works?
military? I don't care about freedom.
Obviously.
I'm not the one who says freedom is the most important thing, the ultimate goal, right?
Then maybe you should stop telling others what to do.
No, you guys are the one claiming that freedom is the most important thing.
I want to be free from someone telling me what to do, and you're one of these people telling me what to do.
This has been one of the funner calls from Skeeter.
It sure has been entertaining.
Still as nonsensical as ever. Thanks for the call tonight, Skeeter. I'm sure you can do better than that. Give us a call, 603-283-6160. Let us know what you're thinking about tonight. It's Free Talk Live.
This hour of Free Talk Live is brought to you by Dash Digital Cash. Dash is the cryptocurrency designed to be used for spending. In addition to being one of the world's first cryptocurrencies, Dash was the first crypto project to have a decentralized autonomous organization that to this day continues to improve and promote Dash. Every month, 10% of the mining rewards go into a treasury. Anyone with one Dash to spend can put forward a proposal to the Dash masternodes. The masternodes vet the proposals and decide which ones move forward and are funded by that treasury. Nowadays, DAOs are plentiful, but Dash paved the way by doing it first, nearly a decade ago. Dash is one of the oldest cryptocurrencies and is widely available on exchanges, including the decentralized Maya protocol, and in multi-crypto wallets. It's easy to get and use Dash. Start by learning more at dash.org. Thanks to the Dash DAO for sending us 32 Dash per month to promote Dash on the air. Visit dash.org to learn about Dash. Dash.org.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it.
Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone? You forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection. You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer with a look back at some of the week's top stories. The International Energy Agency greenlit the release of a record 400 million barrels of oil from emergency reserves in a bid to curb rising prices sparked by the war in Iran. FSN's Tony Waterman reports from Washington.
It's not clear what types of oil will be made available or how quickly it will hit the market. That will ultimately determine how impactful this release is. But it is the largest joint release in the IEA's history, accounting for roughly a third of the group's emergency stockpiles, an indication of how serious of a situation they believe this is, with concerns of a global recession rising. Oil prices have whipsawed since the start of the war, spiking as high as $119 a barrel. News of the release had little impact on crude prices, the decision already baked in.
Donald Trump said he was not happy with Iran's new pick for supreme leader. But in an interview with the New York Post, he refused to say what he would do about it. Mujtaba Khamenei was chosen by a group of clerics to replace his late father, who was killed on the first day of the war. FSN's Nick Harper reports from Washington.
Bear in mind that Mujtaba Khamenei is someone that was sanctioned back in 2019 by the US Treasury Department due to his activities in the Iranian regime. The US has, throughout this whole process, made it clear that if the person that Iran chooses to run the country is not someone that's been specifically signed off on by the US president, that person would have a target on their back in the same way that the former Ayatollah had as well. The fact that we have now someone in charge of Iran that the United States feels it cannot work with, there seems, I think, little hope for diplomacy, and therefore the fear is that what we've seen in the last 10 days will only grow and potentially widen.
The Kremlin welcomed the U.S. decision to issue a temporary waiver allowing the sale of Russian oil at sea. FSN's Daria Bondarchuk reports from Moscow.
Moscow's Special Economic Envoy Kirill Dmitriev said that the U.S. exception for countries to buy sanctioned Russian oil stranded on tankers at sea is a de facto recognition that without Russian crude, the world market cannot remain stable. Under the 30-day waiver, these shipments can be delivered and sold until April 12. Earlier, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the exemption would only cover oil already in transit and would not provide significant financial benefit to the Russian government. The Kremlin, commenting on the U.S. Treasury decision, said Russia and the United States share the same interest in stabilizing energy markets.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN. The Pentagon reportedly concluded that an attack on a girls' school in Iran that killed more than 165 people at the start of the conflict was the fault of the U.S. military. The New York Times reported that a preliminary investigation said outdated information may have resulted in the Tomahawk missile strike. FSN's Simon Marks reports from Washington.
U.S. officials familiar with the findings of the investigation say the strike on the elementary school was an American error. It was built on the grounds of a former base for the Revolutionary Guards in Manab in the south of the country and was incorrectly listed as a military target. President Trump has previously claimed the Iranians were responsible for the Tomahawk strike, but there's no evidence to support that claim, and the probe's outcome will boost calls for the U.S. to face war crimes charges over the killing of more than 100 children and teachers as the war began.
Some Asian airlines raised fears and added fuel surcharges as the Middle East conflict is driving up jet fuel costs and disrupting travel. The war has disrupted a key oil export corridor, driving up airline costs and pushing up ticket prices amid concerns about a broader impact on travel demand. FSN's Laura Westbrook reports from Hong Kong.
Thousands of flights have been cancelled since Israel and the United States attacked Iran at the end of last month. The war has caused restrictions on operations at key transfer hubs in the Middle East. There are fewer seats available after major Gulf carriers suspended flights, and that's contributing to ticket prices going up between Asia and Europe. Spiking fuel prices are also putting pressure on carriers. Australia's Qantas and Air New Zealand were among the carriers that announced price increases, while Hong Kong's Cathay Pacific says it's adding flights to London and Zurich as airspace closures and capacity constraints drive up airfares.
Those were some of the week's top stories. Ira Spitzer.
Now, how much money will all those closeted Republican convention goers bring into the city, Marie?
A lot. The average area prostitute normally makes around $200 to $300 a week jerking off truck drivers behind the bus station.
I see.
Next week, they are expecting to make 30 times that amount sucking off secretly gay Republicans.
Wow.
You figure the fact that these delegates are so repressed and filled with self-hatred,
yes,
they tend to like the filthiest, kinkiest sex acts imaginable.
Oh, that's
which
right.
tends to cost more. The average well-adjusted gay man has no desire to smear fecal matter all over his partner's face or be beat up by him. But that is exactly the sort of thing that these repressed conservatives are willing to pay top dollar for.
Okay, as well as the services of transsexuals, I understand.
Yes. A lot of the Republicans repeatedly call the prostitutes faggots or start crying after they've had sex with them.
I suppose the prostitutes are shoring up on their politics so they can talk to the Republicans.
Ha ha, Andrea, what do you think this is, Pretty Woman? They're just there to get right.
Thank you, Marie Byron.
RNC's always a good time.
This is the Onion News Network.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
It's Free Talk Live. Talk radio you control. You can call and get your thoughts on the air. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. I'd like to thank Alla Loca, forgive me if I'm saying that wrong, for being an amplifier with us here at Free Talk Live. That means that Alla Loca went to amps.freetalklive.com and signed up to support the show. AMPS stands for Advertise, Market, Promote, and Support. Thanks again to Alla Loca and everyone who supports us. Again, that's amps.freetalklive.com if you'd like to check out the perks and benefits of becoming an amplifier. In the studio tonight, it's Stu.
Riley O'Bill.
And we're going to go to the phones where we've got Sarah calling in from New Mexico. Sarah, you're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Oh, yes. You know something? I go to a prayer group like every Wednesday, Sagebrush Prayer Group, and there was a girl that just walked in, and I said, I don't see you at Sundays. What do you do? So she says, I hold a Bible study with women at my house. And, the feeling that I got was, well, if she's good enough to hold a Bible study, I think she needs to be a pastor. I always felt that, but I never said nothing to her. So I think 2 months later or whatever, and then we were praying like last Wednesday, and then they were saying, well, did you get a job that we were praying for? Would you get, and then it dawned on me, and it's like, huh?
Sorry, I just laughed. Go on with your story.
So, and I just said, hey, that confirms that God's calling for you to be a pastor. That's why you can't find a job. If you were supposed to have a regular job, you would have had one already, because they've been praying for her to have a job, and it's not happening. And obviously, she's very intelligent. She's very well qualified. So I had to say, I have a feeling that God's coming to be a pastor. So last Wednesday, I told her that there's there's a school, Bible college in Colorado Springs, and she knew about it. I think it was Pastor Winmack or something. So I don't know if she's going to do it, but yeah. So I just want to say that these feelings that I get, I think it's kind of true, Sometimes, is it like a spirit of prophecy or something?
You think you're prophetic because
someone can't find a job?
Because someone can't find a job, and you think they should be a pastor?
Yeah, it's I'm putting it together.
Have you tried applying for jobs? Do you know how competitive the job market is, Sarah?
Yeah,
Sarah
but
has
she's very intelligent and she's very competitive. But it's
that doesn't mean she should automatically be a pastor.
this is the feeling that I'm getting.
Yeah, but
She's
your
already
feelings are
holding up-
irrelevant.
Yeah.
But you know,
I'm skeptical that God is speaking through you to communicate His desire for another of His earthly children.
well, I don't know. There
It
was
could
the
be,
other
though.
ladies.
I'm not
Well,
saying it's
then I
not
asked her-
possible. I'm just suggesting that Sarah needs to take more into account than just, oh, she should be a pastor because that's why she's not getting a job.
Well, but see, I've seen it long time ago. There was a television broadcast, and then there was a man pastor. He says, I was trying to find a job. It's the same story, and I could not find a job anywhere. I wanted to be a good provider for my family. And then it finally dawned on him that God was calling him to be a pastor. And this was like 40 years ago or so.
It finally
So,
dawned
I
on
had
him.
no-
The perfect grift was to get Christians to give him money in the name of God.
Yes.
That's what finally dawned on him, Sarah.
That's the perfect grift.
Well, you guys don't believe in tithing and offering? Well, you know, you're
No, I
doing
do.
yourself in.
No, tithing absolutely works. Do you know why?
Uh-huh.
It works because of your faith, because you believe it's going to work.
Yes.
That's the only reason it works. It's not God blessing you, okay? It's a matter of your faith. If
You think so? Yeah. If you feel that you put in good, so it's called sowing seed. You're putting 1/10 of your money into good things. You put into a church where they help people that you believe in, and you believe that you're right. It's a matter of belief in your attitude, what you're willing to open opportunity for yourself. That's partly true.
That's right, because the
But I also-
Mormons pay 10% of their tithing in order for they lovingly refer to it as fire insurance sometimes because it's one of the things you have to do to get into heaven. But also they're given a promise that if they pay their tithing, they'll always have what they need. And once I figured out that it didn't have anything to do with the money and it only had to do with the faith, I've always had what I needed, and I don't pay tithing. I do what I feel is right, and like a certain amount of my time is dedicated to what, if there is a God, I interpret His intentions to be, and I feel like God's going to take care of me, and guess what? He always does. If it is a God, I don't know. Universe takes care of me. Whatever.
Yeah.
I always have what I
Something.
need, and it's just a matter of my faith that I will have what I need.
Yeah, but don't you? I really believe in tithing and offering. You know, but I do not believe in giving it to the Mormon Church.
What's the difference? Right, and so if you gave the Mormon Church your money, you wouldn't receive any blessings for having done so because you don't believe in it. That's my point.
Well, the thing is, I think that.
Whereas the Mormons do get blessings from it because they do believe in it.
Yeah.
Well, I would donate money to a sincere church, remember Tammy Baker and her husband were found to steal millions of dollars for their, I don't know, they had I don't know, like a Lamborghini or whatever. I don't know what they had, but they were obnoxious with the money.
Uh-huh.
Those kind of ministry. They were founded siphoning off millions of dollars.
That's what most of these pastor types do.
Most of them, yeah. You can find a couple of honest, very small parishes. One sign is that there won't be very many people there if it's an honest sort of operation. There just won't be that many people because they don't have the money and the flash to draw people in, and there aren't that many people that are seeking a true church setting. They just, want to be part of a club called Christianity or something.
Well, you know what's very, very peculiar? I went to the Sagebrush, and a lady told me the roots are Southern Baptist. But people feel so good with the music and everything. Nobody ever questions. All the women goes, hey, there is no women pastors, no women teachers, no women elders in this church, and nobody goes, hey, nobody brings it up, and that happens to be true. And nobody even knew that they claim we're non-denominational. Nobody knows that they're Southern Baptists. I think there's a church that wanted to hold on to slavery at the time. Is that true? Like they had the regular Baptists, and the Southern Baptists is the one that we like slavery. We're Christians, and I want slaves, and that's the reason why they broke off. Is that a Texas state? A Texas church. But you know what? Is that
So
in Albuquerque they have a.
So in this sagebrush group, you're telling me they don't talk about the fact that there are no women clergy, and they don't talk about the Southern Baptist roots of the organization. So
yeah, nobody knows and nobody questions.
So then what do they talk about? How is that anywhere near any kind of a real religious setting if they don't even talk about what their roots are and what their ideals are?
Well, you know what? People just get mesmerized with all the music and
that's just nonsense,
preaching
sir.
about all the ministry.
That's just New Age nonsense.
Here's the thing, and then I'm the one that lady pointed out. Hey, I have never heard there is no women pastors, and it's like I just realized it because she pointed it out. So, but I've heard, wasn't Southern Baptist Church known for their bigotry? That's what I kind of got from it. But see, but they got that money. They bought a building when they bought it, $11 million, probably like 30 years ago. I mean, who's got that kind of money other than Southern Baptist Church, right? Aren't they out of Texas?
The Mormon Church does. The Mormon Church has plenty of money. They got all kinds of properties in Florida and like all over the place. Tons of money.
Yeah.
Big stock options in like Coca-Cola Company. They're all up in business.
Oh yeah, but I thought they were anti caffeine. So why would they have stocks in Coca-Cola?
Indeed, why would they?
They're not.
That's one of the easier cognitive dissonance questions for
not
Mormons
really
to deal with.
anti-caffeine though.
Yeah. So the way the Mormons deal with this is that the Word of Wisdom doesn't say anything about caffeine. It says hot drinks.
Yep.
Like tea and coffee. But
I guess I gotta drink my coffee cold.
But it's totally messed up because you can't have a cold coffee either. No iced tea, right? But you can have Coca-Cola.
Yeah, it's rather
Makes
strange.
no sense.
Well,
but that's one of the easier ones. If you want to get into the heavy things that make no sense about Mormonism, they usually reserve those for what I call the shelf. They just put them up there and deal with them later or never.
Oh, so there's like bizarre things like how come all the money goes up to the hierarchy, the people that run like the real high up in the church, and they were busted for, weren't they buying penthouses, really expensive penthouses, and then the Mormon church still gives them 1%. It's very bizarre. You know, if you know your church is corrupt, I would start tithing and offering to some other.
That's the problem. All other churches are corrupt too.
Well, I don't believe it. But anyways, I just got a really good feeling about it, and I just kind of feel like I don't know why I felt that, and nobody else in the prayer group come in and joined me and confirmed it with me. I don't know why I got this feeling, and I'm the one that told her about it. You know. And then in the meanwhile, she's going to go to yoga school to be a yoga instructor or something. I'm like, no, go to a Bible college. That's not where he wants you to be. So a lot of people that have calling on their lives, they keep doing other dumb things that they don't want to. So I mean, what could God do? I mean,
yeah, I don't know. I think there's a guiding influence in the universe that, for simplicity, it's easy to call it God, that has a preference as to what we should be doing. And sometimes you listen to it and you do the thing and it looks like it made no sense. Like it didn't do you any good, but the lesson you learned sometimes isn't the one you were expecting, or, like the blessings you get from it are not the ones you thought you would get, kind of a thing. So, I don't know. Everybody's got different paths in the world too, certainly.
But you don't believe in the tithing, you get, God does not need the money.
I don't believe in any structured church.
But if you 1/10 of your money as a thank you offering to invest in the kingdom, God's gonna let you keep what you have, and plus bless you even more.
Well,
for honoring God. That's like honoring God.
God needs a new G6.
That's what I'm saying. God does not need any money thing or anything from us. He told the universe He doesn't need our money.
Then why do we have to give money to a church? Why can't we just serve our neighbors?
No, but okay. Giving money, they could use it. It's not going through God. You know what I mean? The church, when they feed you, they know, they pray, they lecture you. You know that it's God giving you a meal. Okay, if you give somebody money, they don't think that it's God gave them money. You gave them money. They don't. God doesn't get the glory. I mean, it has to be a place where His word, His doctrine is being taught. That's the most important part. Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so. It's I don't know, Sarah.
So, anyways, I was on that Joker rodeo. We have they call them the jokes, and then I was listening to the rerun. I actually made a rerun because I guess my joke was so good, and one of the persons said, "Oh boy, my jokes are like to another level. It has another dimension." Well, obviously, my jokes have a deeper meaning. I'm just trying not to be just funny. I want to have some kind of a moral of a story. So my joke was that I was at the hot light and I was crossing and a car almost hit me. And the joke was, silly me, I actually thought they were going to stop for me at a red light. What a joke. But Eric Strauss, he did not find a joke in it. He thought it was a political commentary, but I thought it was a joke, and somebody else said it was a joke. It's another level, next step level of a joke. It's comical, but it has a meaning.
I don't see any comedy in it either.
I don't either.
Sorry.
Well,
nice try, Sarah.
The joke is that it's silly. It's
to
silly
me, the
that
joke is that somebody,
stop for me.
yes, that somebody would step out in front of a car thinking it was going to stop for them. Why would you do that?
No,
it's not funny.
They had the red light. It's a hawk signal.
Yeah,
it actually stops the car, supposedly.
How does it stop the car? Does it have a cable that comes down and grabs the car and stops it like a fighter jet landing on an aircraft carrier? I don't think so.
Well, that's the funny part about it. It goes from flashing yellow to red. They're supposed to stop.
They're supposed to, but there's nothing guaranteeing they will. So don't step out in front of it until you know it's going to. It's that easy.
That's the whole comedy of it.
What's funny about that?
Yeah. Well, the silliness of it, I actually believe that they were going to stop. That's the comical part of it. They don't stop at the intersection. They don't stop for stop signs. Why the hell are they going to stop for the Hawks light signal? Because it's a red light. They ran the red lights everywhere in Albuquerque. So I really thought that they were going to stop for me. But
okay. So. Well, thanks for the call tonight, Sarah.
Sarah has interesting life.
Yeah. Yeah. The red light is going to stop the truck.
It's not.
Yep. Sorry, light colors don't stop big chunks of steel.
But people will stop because they say, "Oh, red light." That's why I was told that I should stop at a red light. Humans can be domesticated.
Give us a call if you're listening. And
603-283-6160. That's 603-283-6160. If you can top Sarah, which I think is easy to do. If you want to talk about something more interesting than a Christian group or your thoughts on...
I bet somebody else could call with the same topics and make it more interesting.
I'm sure they could.
Let's see. Where were we before all of the shenanigans?
We were talking about Iran.
We sure were. We were reading this this article, which I think this is written by Alexander Dugan, whom some people know who that is. And he was saying that basically international law is out the window, and might makes right is the new order of the day. So this article continues. I think that now almost everything depends on how long and how decisively Iran can resist. If it continues to wage war even after the destruction of its political leadership, if it does not surrender, does not raise the white flag, and does not capitulate, then this could end badly for the West itself. After all, then everyone else will start acting in exactly the same way, paying no attention to anything and overestimating their own potential regardless of their legal status. This will give free rein to many regional powers which will do whatever they want. This could very quickly lead to the use of nuclear weapons. Perhaps in the Pakistan-Afghanistan conflict, perhaps in others. There are definitely no rules anymore. In short, if Iran continues its resistance under new leadership, this could have very serious consequences for the West itself, affecting Trump, the U.S., and NATO countries. But if the situation with Venezuela repeats itself, either the new leadership declares surrender, or the military is simply unable to continue fighting, then the war will be short. If this proves to be the case, then we should expect a similar scenario. There is no doubt that Trump and the West, seeing that this scheme works, will simply turn to eliminate Russia's main political and military political leadership as their next move. Seems logical. Today it is already clear that we are acting indecisively. Following the same model, we could be stuck right in the middle of the next negotiations with Kushner and Witkoff, perhaps even with a nuclear weapon. Therefore, I believe the situation is critical for us. We did not stand up for Venezuela or Iran, and China is also remaining neutral. But in such a case, China will be next after us, and then the kingdom of Epstein will reign over the whole space of mankind.
With blood and horror on the earth.
I would like to emphasize that today we can already say that we are not just dealing with the liberal West. Liberalism has quickly faded away and disappeared from the agenda. No one talks about liberal values or democracy anymore. All that is in the past. Now the cult of Baal reigns supreme. The cult of the golden calf. The cult of global power. The cult of United States and Israel. This is a civilization of violence, Satanism, cannibalism, perversion, and pedophilia. And this pedophilic civilization of Baal is dropping its masks before our very eyes and going on the attack in earnest. From all points of view, what is happening now is very reminiscent of the end times. If we do not find the strength within ourselves to comprehend the situation, we will find ourselves in a catastrophic position. Many insist that this is no time to panic, but sometimes it's better to take what is happening seriously than to assume that we will get through it unscathed. Now it is clear that we will not get through it unscathed. Iran is the last thing standing in the way of a direct war between the civilization of Baal and Russia. That is not the end of this article. We will continue on the other side. This is an interesting way of framing it up. I mean, if you're...
I know, it's really interesting.
Russia right now, this is kind of how things look to you, and you're sort of just looking to see what happens next. What does Iran do? How long can they hold out? Give us a call about whatever this or anything else that you'd like to talk about. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. It's Free Talk Live.
North, an extremely vocal opponent of gay marriage, drew fire during his 2010 re-election campaign for saying that the legalization of gay marriage would lead to man-horse marriages. In one instance, he told the New Haven Register, quote, "It's a slippery slope. If we allow two men to marry, what's next? Men marrying horses?" But yesterday, North found himself at the center of a media firestorm when the New York Times published photos of North on what appears to be romantic outings with a horse. Gathered during the Times' 2-month investigation, the pictures show North in almost a dozen locations with the same 3-year-old mare. A former aide discovered links to numerous horse-related sites, including phillyfreaks.com and hothindquarters.com on North's work computer. The Times is accusing North of using federal funds to pay for luxurious trips, including a 3-night stay at the high-end Sueños stables in Catalonia, Spain last month. North released a statement yesterday claiming he only spent time with the horse twice while conducting research for his anti-gay marriage project.
This is the Onion News Network.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer with a look back at some of the week's top stories. The International Energy Agency greenlit the release of a record 400 million barrels of oil from emergency reserves in a bid to curb rising prices sparked by the war in Iran. FSN's Tony Waterman reports from Washington.
It's not clear what types of oil will be made available or how quickly it will hit the market. That will ultimately determine how impactful this release is. But it is the largest joint release in the IEA's history, accounting for roughly a third of the group's emergency stockpiles, an indication of how serious of a situation they believe this is, with concerns of a global recession rising. Oil prices have whipsawed since the start of the war, spiking as high as $119 a barrel. News of the release had little impact on crude prices, the decision already baked in.
Donald Trump said he was not happy with Iran's new pick for supreme leader. But in an interview with the New York Post, he refused to say what he would do about it. Mujtaba Khamenei was chosen by a group of clerics to replace his late father, who was killed on the first day of the war. FSN's Nick Harper reports from Washington.
Bear in mind that Mujtaba Khamenei is someone that was sanctioned back in 2019 by the US Treasury Department due to his activities in the Iranian regime. The US has, throughout this whole process, made it clear that if the person that Iran chooses to run the country is not someone that's been specifically signed off on by the US president, that person would have a target on their back in the same way that the former Ayatollah had as well. The fact that we have now someone in charge of Iran that the United States feels it cannot work with, there seems, I think, little hope for diplomacy, and therefore the fear is that what we've seen in the last 10 days will only grow and potentially widen.
The Kremlin welcomed the U.S. decision to issue a temporary waiver allowing the sale of Russian oil at sea. FSN's Daria Bondarchuk reports from Moscow.
Moscow's Special Economic Envoy Kirill Dmitriev said that the U.S. exception for countries to buy sanctioned Russian oil stranded on tankers at sea is a de facto recognition that without Russian crude, the world market cannot remain stable. Under the 30-day waiver, these shipments can be delivered and sold until April 12. Earlier, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the exemption would only cover oil already in transit and would not provide significant financial benefit to the Russian government. The Kremlin, commenting on the U.S. Treasury decision, said Russia and the United States share the same interest in stabilizing energy markets.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
This is Free Talk Live. Talk radio you control. You can call and let us know what you're thinking about tonight. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. Free Talk Live is brought to you by LibertyMinded.com. Official Free Talk Live gear like t-shirts and hoodies are available at LibertyMinded.com. Plus, you'll find a unique collection of cool and funny, liberty-oriented clothing at LibertyMinded.com. That's LibertyMinded.com. In the studio tonight, it's Stu.
And Riley O'Bill.
No callers on the line right now, so we'll continue with this article.
So there's room for you at 603-283-6160.
That's right. Give us a call. That's the point of this show. This article is words from Alexander Dugin. He's talking about the viewpoint of Russia and what happens in the outcome of this current conflict between the U.S. and Israel against Iran.
And most people seem to think that Russia is a paper tiger, but it's really not. It's pretty strong military. It has pretty strong military, I imagine.
Everybody who's gone in there to conquer the place ended up failing miserably.
Yeah.
That's for sure. I don't know how much conquering they're in a position to go do, but certainly nobody's going to militarily take over Russia anytime soon.
Yeah.
From all points of view, what is happening now is very reminiscent of the end times. Did I read this part?
I think you did.
Mm-hmm. If we had enough will and determination, although I have serious doubts about this, we would have to start acting according to the same rules that everyone else besides us is already acting on. That is, we could eliminate the military and political leadership of Ukraine, and, without paying attention to any costs, we could solve the tasks of the special military operation. By the way, against the backdrop of names world powers are using like Shield of Judah, Operation Epic Fury, and Seal of the Flood, I would rename our modest special military operation Sword of Katakon, and that would immediately change a lot. I don't catch the reference to that. Do you, Riley?
No, I'm not sure I do either.
Should we look it up? And
let's do it. Let's look it up and see what the sort of...
Do this live?
Yeah, let's do it live.
The Sword
of Katakon, you said?
Of ketchup on?
How's it spelled?
Let's see. There's a Sword of Katechon. Katechon.
Yeah, I'm not sure what that is.
Yeah. Let's see here. Russia's such a strange culture.
Strange in what way?
Just, they got, I don't know. It's so much, it's so much like a Western culture that the differences are just very loud.
Mm-hmm.
I like the Russians. I like their humor, and they seem a lot more down to earth and ready to spin up a farm than a lot of Americans. They seem a lot more real.
Yeah.
There's definitely sad things about Russian culture too. The Sword of Katakon, if that's how it's pronounced, refers to the metaphorical use of power law enforced by a restrainer, Katakon, to prevent the rise of the Antichrist at the end of times.
Okay.
Okay, so that would be Russia taking out the
quote unquote Antichrist. Okay.
And the Antichrist would be, the West and NATO and Israel, I guess.
Yeah.
Okay.
I guess in this situation it would be.
There we go. We got some clarity on that. As far as Operation Epic Fury, I really like that some people have been calling this Operation Epstein Fury.
I haven't heard that, but that's really funny.
Because Trump is just so mad about this whole Epstein thing that he's dropping bombs where he shouldn't be.
Yeah, it would make sense that Epstein Fury would be a good name for this.
Yep. All right. Article continues, but I'm afraid we don't dare do that, and we'll continue with the same old song. And then, I repeat, missiles will fly into Moscow right in the middle of negotiations with Kushner and Witkoff, literally following the Iranian scenario. The civilization of Baal is simple. It repeats the same scenarios over and over again, and they work every time because everyone thinks that this only applies to Gaddafi, Hussein, Milosevic, Mubarak, Nasrallah, Assad, or Khomeini, but not to themselves. Thus, step by step, the civilization of Baal achieves its goals. Therefore, either we mobilize urgently, or the situation will become extremely difficult, and if we still harbor any illusions, then there is some kind of profound falsehood at large within our own camp. This is especially noticeable against the backdrop of what has happened in Iran, which is a catastrophe of global proportions. Wonderful people, remarkable spiritual leaders have been killed. For comparison, it would be like the Patriarch of Moscow, the President, the Chief of the General Staff, and all the key ministers were killed at the same time, along with more than 100 schoolgirls, innocent souls, killed by missiles. After such an event, is it possible to remain indifferent and pretend that it does not particularly concern us, that it is not our business? Therefore, if we endure this and remain silent, then next time they will do the same to us. That is why I am absolutely certain that in the current situation we should immediately declare a state of emergency, at least at the highest level of government. After all, the situation is becoming simply critical for us. That's where the article ends. I can absolutely see why Russia might feel as though America, would just be like, hey, let's have a negotiation talk, and then as soon as the talks commence, bombs start dropping. Because that is the way they've been doing this. It's absolutely despicable the way that the West, particularly the U.S. and Israel, have been conducting this war. They shot an Iranian ship with torpedoes after it was leaving a war games exercise. It was not in any, there was no potential combat happening there. They just drove a submarine up to it, torpedoed it, and then drove away. They're supposed to help any survivors out of the water. They didn't even do that. They just took off.
And the U.S. also bombed a school in Iran too.
Mm-hmm. And they were like, no, that was Iran. No, that wasn't Iran. That was the U.S.
Yeah.
Killed 156 schoolgirls is what I hear. That's not a very nice thing to do.
It's not. It's a terrible thing to do.
Mm-hmm. And, I just haven't heard any justifications for this war, for the West waging this war. And also, I don't think you're going to win. That's a mountainous terrain. It's up against Russia. They have rifles and stuff. You're not going to go in there, boots on the ground, and take over that place the way you tried to and failed in Afghanistan. And was it you, by the way, Trump, that was saying, that these wars in the Middle East are a terrible idea and regime change needs to end. We got to quit playing that game and all this stuff.
He definitely was, but apparently he forgot his words, and I guess everything changed.
So flip the script. And I guess from what I hear is his rationale on this was, I had to do it because if I didn't, then Israel was going to nuke them. Which is that's not helping you, man.
They've been saying that for 20 years.
That is not.
And Israel hasn't been nuked yet.
No, he was saying, if we don't do this, Israel will nuke Iran.
I see what you're saying.
And he did it to prevent the use of nuclear war.
All right.
Which is not, that's not good, man. Why are you buddies with people that are threatening to start nuclear war?
It's because Israel's God's chosen people, and we gotta make friends with God's chosen people, otherwise we'll be destroyed.
God's chosen people sure have some funny practices.
They sure do. They sure have violent practices too.
Yeah. And they have funny little colloquial names for them, such as mowing the lawn.
Yep.
Which is a disgusting term they use when they decide it's time to go out and trim back the amount of Palestinians that exist on the planet. Right now we're going to go to the phone, so we've got Dave Ridley. You're on Free Talk Live. What's on your mind?
Hey, guys. Censorship.
Yeah?
What about censorship?
So I called in a couple weeks ago to let you, or maybe 1 week ago. I had I'm producing a science fiction television series. I say television in quote marks. It might or might not ever make it to real television, but it's going to be designed for television, if that makes sense.
Right.
So I released a trailer for it a week or two ago, and I thought it would be useful to talk about some of the travails I had to go through to get the imagery completed for this PG-13 trailer.
Okay.
So I have some examples of imagery that was banned by the mainstream image generator platforms, and I had to go to Venice to get it done. Venice has uncensored models. I guess it's Venice.ai. And so so I had, quote, Churchill. So it's a picture of Churchill. So it's, quote, Churchill is in a bombed out farm. He is naked except for the blue poilu French soldier type helmet shown in the attached image, unquote. It didn't want to do that. Occasionally I could get attempts to do that. And then when it generated the image, which really is it's just a guy in a bathtub, like with no shirt on, right? Like that's just, it's the most, it's rated G actually. And so, it after it generated the image, I would put the image up again to have it edited, and it would refuse to edit its own image.
Interesting.
That it had just generated. So this violates our community guidelines or whatever. Okay, fine. I'm just going to Venice. I'm getting it done on Venice. And so Venice turned out to be the thing that allowed me to actually complete this now instead of a year from now.
Okay. Did you only have to try the two platforms?
Well, I have an account on Poe.com. It's POE.com, which I am happy with. They allow you access to a lot of other models. And one of the models that they allow you access to is a model that was created by one of the censorship companies. But I guess Venice has an uncensored copy of the model or something like that. They must have I don't know if they're doing, I guess they must have come up with an agreement, or maybe they're doing it, maybe they're allowed to do it somehow. But their uncensored version of this mainstream model will do what you ask it to. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it's proving to be a pretty helpful company. Venice is run by a free stater, by the way.
Oh, nice.
That's cool.
So their deal is that they don't try to build their own models. They just try to take existing models that are open source or that they're allowed to use, and they just provide an interface to those models. But it's not, it's not perfect. There's some. It's like with anything else, like with YouTube and Odyssey. There are all these things that YouTube has that Odyssey just can't match.
Yep.
And it's the same way with the mainstream models that have hundreds of billions of dollars. If you're using Venice to compete with those, it's a much smaller company, and it may be more difficult to get certain things done. But I tell you what, if you've got anything that they're trying to censor, then that's when Venice becomes a lot easier, a lot of a much better option, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
The other image. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Did you listen to last weekend's show with Mark Edge and Tall Bill and myself?
I listened to part of it, but I don't think it was more than 10 minutes. So I have it in queue to download.
Tall Bill was talking about what he uses for AI, and since I'm not real familiar with all this stuff, he was saying that basically it's a self-hosted AI that you can build it into the model that you want it to be. Have you heard anything that works like that?
Well, the closest thing I've heard to that is that I think it's anything LLM will allow you to hand you you give them a model that you want to change, and you just tell them what you want to change about it, or you add all this text that you want to add to it, or instructions or whatnot, and they will take those instructions and turn them into a fine tune for you. And I think they'll do one for free. But the problem with that is there's really not much privacy in it, because you're dumping it on the internet and handing all this data over to them. So if you've got anything private, in your model, then that might not be a good match. But last I heard, they were doing that, and I never sent them a model. I didn't know exactly whether it would be worth the trouble, and you can only do it once for free. But and that sounded like an interesting thing. But I don't know if that's what you're talking about.
Yeah, I don't know. It's just the idea of Iron Man had Jarvis. It was like his own AI that it was not going to let go of his secrets, and it was only going to work for him. I'm interested in the idea of AI going that way, to where you kind of have your own instance that can, is kind of as all-knowing as these LLMs can be, and doesn't snitch on you and won't lie to you, and will give you the results that you ask for, no matter how offensive, kind of a thing.
Yeah, that would be nice, and I think at some point it will be developed, but I'm not sure it exists now.
Yeah, I'm not sure either. That would be a lot more fun, though, and useful than what currently does exist. certainly can be frustrated when you just want a simple image. It's not even going to offend more than maybe 100 people on the whole planet, and for some reason the AI is telling you, no, this is not acceptable. I can't do that.
Have any of you seen the trailer so far?
I have not taken time to look at it or listen to it.
Always looking for feedback. But it's RidleyReport.com. It's a 2-minute trailer for Legends of the Free State.
Okay.
Cool. We'll check that out and put it in the show notes. Is that all you had for us, Dave?
That's all I've got.
All right. Thanks for the call.
RidleyReport.com.
Yeah. All right, cool. I like Dave Ridley calls.
I do too. He's a really cool guy.
Yeah, he's got interesting things to say.
Yep. When I first moved to New Hampshire, Ridley was one of my roommates.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
Yep. I met him a few times up here at various events, and I got to witness his pilgrimage dressed as Gandhi from here to Henniker, I think is where he went, or Manchester, or somewhere over there.
Maybe it was Concord?
Yeah, maybe it was Concord. That was a pretty cool thing, though.
That is pretty cool. Ridley's a cool guy.
We're going to now get into this story that Riley brought from Deseret News. Good old
reputable news source.
Mormon publications in Utah. ICE buys Salt Lake City warehouse, sparking concern. An immigrant detention center is coming. I guess they don't want one of those in Salt Lake.
Salt Lake leans a little more left than most of the state, and so most likely not.
Yeah, I guess Salt Lake have a little bit of a problem with it. Most of the state, though, I think would be perfectly happy with that. Why don't they build it down there in Bicknell or Loa?
Yeah.
Those guys would be happy about that.
Yeah, they would be. They would be. Except they don't want their small towns messed up.
Laverkin.
Hurricane.
Yep, hurricane. Spelled like hurricane.
Yep.
Immigration and Customs Enforcement has bought a warehouse structure in an industrial area on Salt Lake City's west side, reigniting debate about whether the city will become home to an immigrant detention center. The $145.44 million deal for the building and 24.9 acre parcel it sits on at 6020 West, 300 South. That's it's out in the Junkyard District. Was finalized on Wednesday, according to online property records. The property sold to ICE by an entity identified as RREEF CPIF 6020 West 300 South, the former owner, sits just 3 to 4 miles southeast of another property that had been reportedly eyed last January as a potential ICE detention center. Officials from the Federal Immigration Agency didn't immediately respond to queries Thursday seeking comment, but the transaction is sparking concern among some who worry about the possibility of an immigrant detention center coming to Salt Lake City. I am deeply disturbed to learn that an 833,000 square foot warehouse near the Salt Lake City airport has reportedly been purchased by the federal government for what would likely become a massive ICE detention facility, Salt Lake County Mayor Jenny Wilson said in a statement. This time the obstacles may be greater, but our commitment must be just as strong. We cannot allow aggressive and often unlawful federal enforcement tactics to take root in our community.
But yet she was the same one who allowed you to be detained in your house for a disease.
Yeah. And bit of a news flash for you, Mayor Jenny Wilson. Utah has been knuckling under to the feds for let's see, when did they outlaw polygamy?
It was the 1890s.
Yeah, so quite a while now.
Yep.
If you want to stand up to them now.
It was before 1896 because I know Utah became a state in 1896, so at least around 1890.
Yeah, it was in the 1880s when the argument was going around, and then sometime in the 1890s is when Utah officially said, fine, we'll listen to you on that one. Even though they didn't stop.
Nope. They didn't stop at all. In fact, it continued until, other people were excommunicated or whatever. And yeah.
And then the zealots that wanted to practice openly made it worse than it was in the first place. So good job making that illegal.
Yep, good job. You created Warren Jeffs and Paul Kingston.
Yep, that's your fault. Directly,
Congratulations.
federal government.
Yep.
Thank you. One more item on the list of grievances. Eva Lopez Chavez, a member of the Salt Lake City Council and Democratic hopeful for the 1st District U.S. House seat, called the development deeply alarming. She asked Utah's congressional delegation to Washington, D.C. to investigate the transaction and provide more details about the plans for the site. I will use the full extent of my authority to combat the conversion of such a warehouse into a human detention facility. I am eager to learn more about this exchange of real estate and prevent any assistance to this facility, Lopez Chavez said in a statement. It is an abomination that any real estate entity would willingly sell their asset knowing the consequences of inviting the Department of Homeland Security into their backyard. This is an attempt to promote violence, not safety. Well, you're shaming the real estate entity? Come on. Seriously? The real estate entity.
Yeah.
How those guys operate. They're vultures. It's an abomination. Come on. Just all right.
These politicians just love
what
to
you're mad
purchase
about,
signal.
that a real estate agent would sell the property to ICE. Not that, none of the other stuff is your concern. Okay, anyways. The Utah Democratic Party and Utah Senate and House Democrats joined the critics. Though what exactly is to come of the facility remains publicly unclear, a statement from the party lauded the contribution of immigrants. We strongly oppose any effort to use facilities in our city to scale up immigration detention or deportation operations. We call on federal officials to immediately disclose their plans and abandon any proposal that would put Utah communities and the hardworking families who sustain them at risk, reads the statement. Yeah, I mean, ICE is gross. You don't want them in your backyard, but as far as people who do want them in their backyard, that's at least a third of Salt Lake.
Yep, at least a third. At least 2/3 of Utah.
Yeah, I live there. I'm pretty sure at least a third of Salt Lake is just cheering that on. Let's get some ice up in here. Give us a call. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. Let us know what you're thinking about. This is Free Talk Live.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here, and I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com. So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer with a look back at some of the week's top stories. The International Energy Agency greenlit the release of a record 400 million barrels of oil from emergency reserves in a bid to curb rising prices sparked by the war in Iran. FSN's Tony Waterman reports from Washington.
It's not clear what types of oil will be made available or how quickly it will hit the market. That will ultimately determine how impactful this release is. But it is the largest joint release in the IEA's history, accounting for roughly a third of the group's emergency stockpiles, an indication of how serious of a situation they believe this is, with concerns of a global recession rising. Oil prices have whipsawed since the start of the war, spiking as high as $119 a barrel. News of the release had little impact on crude prices, the decision already baked in.
Donald Trump said he was not happy with Iran's new pick for supreme leader. But in an interview with the New York Post, he refused to say what he would do about it. Mujtaba Khamenei was chosen by a group of clerics to replace his late father, who was killed on the first day of the war. FSN's Nick Harper reports from Washington.
Bear in mind that Mujtaba Khamenei is someone that was sanctioned back in 2019 by the US Treasury Department due to his activities in the Iranian regime. The US has, throughout this whole process, made it clear that if the person that Iran chooses to run the country is not someone that's been specifically signed off on by the US president, that person would have a target on their back in the same way that the former Ayatollah had as well. The fact that we have now someone in charge of Iran that the United States feels it cannot work with, there seems, I think, little hope for diplomacy, and therefore the fear is that what we've seen in the last 10 days will only grow and potentially widen.
The Kremlin welcomed the U.S. decision to issue a temporary waiver allowing the sale of Russian oil at sea. FSN's Daria Bondarchuk reports from Moscow.
Moscow's Special Economic Envoy Kirill Dmitriev said that the U.S. exception for countries to buy sanctioned Russian oil stranded on tankers at sea is a de facto recognition that without Russian crude, the world market cannot remain stable. Under the 30-day waiver, these shipments can be delivered and sold until April 12. Earlier, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the exemption would only cover oil already in transit and would not provide significant financial benefit to the Russian government. The Kremlin, commenting on the U.S. Treasury decision, said Russia and the United States share the same interest in stabilizing energy markets.
From Bureaus Worldwide, this is FSN. The Pentagon reportedly concluded that an attack on a girls' school in Iran that killed more than 165 people at the start of the conflict was the fault of the U.S. military. The New York Times reported that a preliminary investigation said outdated information may have resulted in the Tomahawk missile strike. FSN's Simon Marks reports from Washington.
U.S. officials familiar with the findings of the investigation say the strike on the elementary school was an American error. It was built on the grounds of a former base for the Revolutionary Guards in Manab in the south of the country and was incorrectly listed as a military target. President Trump has previously claimed the Iranians were responsible for the Tomahawk strike, but there's no evidence to support that claim, and the probe's outcome will boost calls for the U.S. to face war crimes charges over the killing of more than 100 children and teachers as the war began.
Some Asian airlines raised fears and added fuel surcharges as the Middle East conflict is driving up jet fuel costs and disrupting travel. The war has disrupted a key oil export corridor, driving up airline costs and pushing up ticket prices amid concerns about a broader impact on travel demand. FSN's Laura Westbrook reports from Hong Kong.
Thousands of flights have been cancelled since Israel and the United States attacked Iran at the end of last month. The war has caused restrictions on operations at key transfer hubs in the Middle East. There are fewer seats available after major Gulf carriers suspended flights, and that's contributing to ticket prices going up between Asia and Europe. Spiking fuel prices are also putting pressure on carriers. Australia's Qantas and Air New Zealand were among the carriers that announced price increases, while Hong Kong's Cathay Pacific Pacific says it's adding flights to London and Zurich as airspace closures and capacity constraints drive up airfares.
Those were some of the week's top stories. Ira Spitzer reports.
According to a new report released this week by the Pew Research Center, a rising number of weak, emasculated men are working as stay-at-home dads, with a steadily increasing number of feeble, pathetic fayboys choosing to spend their days cooking, cleaning, and performing other submissive duties.
Well, our findings indicate that more and more pussified half-men are not going to work, and instead are embarrassing themselves by purchasing groceries, packing children's lunches, and denying all aspects of their masculinity on a daily basis.
The Onion spoke to one of these effete, pathetic excuses for men to get his response on the new report.
I love being able to stay home with Angela. I mean, it's a lot of work, but I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world.
What a f***ing pussy. For more on this story, check this week's Onion Review.
This is the Onion News Network.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com. Free Talk Live.
This is Free Talk Live. Talk radio you control. Give us a call. Let us know what you're thinking about tonight. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. Are you tired of the oppressive rules and moderation of the big tech social media sites? Our Mastodon server at social.freetalklive.com can set you free. Mastodon is free, open source, decentralized, and federated. Multiple apps are available for iOS, Android, Windows, Mac, and Linux. Social.freetalklive.com. In the studio tonight, it's Stu.
And Riley O'Bill.
We're reading an article from the Mormon news publication, Deseret News, about ice buying a big warehouse on the west side of the valley.
Yep, in Salt Lake Valley.
The Democrats are not very excited. This article continues. The Democratic House and Senate lawmakers expressed concern about what would accompany development of a detention facility. These centers arrive with massive enforcement operations that tear through communities, and the conditions that exist within these centers are violent and inhumane, reads the lawmaker's statement. That the site is on Salt Lake City's diverse west side is particularly problematic, they said, expressing concern that many families will now live under constant terror. Yeah, that's the west side of Salt Lake is where the Mexicans live. So there's that. When rumors emerged in mid-January of the earlier proposal, which called for converting a vacant warehouse at 1197 North, 6880 West into a 7,500-bed immigrant detention facility, foes quickly coalesced, demonstrating at the location. They later demonstrated at the Salt Lake City offices of the owner of that 6880 West property, the Ritchie Group. The Ritchie Group later said it didn't plan to sell the land to ICE, though the possibility had emerged on a leaked document circulated among immigrant advocates around the country. The deed for the transaction from Wednesday for the 300 West site says RREEF CPIF 6020 West 300 South. The owner before ICE is a Delaware limited liability company with offices in Chicago. The registered agent in Utah for RREEF CPIF 6020 West 300 South is Midvale-based CT Corporation System, according to online Utah business records. There you go.
So essentially a real estate broker or someone decided, hey, we got to make a little money and sold some property.
Yeah, who knows? Or, I mean, so it's obviously held by a shell company right now. So to obfuscate who the actual owner is. wouldn't surprise me in the least if the church owns it and is going to get a whole bunch of money to help out ICE.
It wouldn't surprise me either because they do have a lot of shell companies.
Mm-hmm. And they know about the shell company game. They learned it very well from Israel. They learned a lot of things from Israel.
I'm sure they did.
Did you know there's an Orson Hyde Park in Israel?
I did.
Yep. Orson Lahidem, as I like to call him. Lahidem.
I heard that he went to Israel to dedicate the land to the returning of the Jews. As though they actually needed a dedication for that.
Yeah. Mormons poking their heads up in the weirdest places. All right.
Well, there are Gadiantons among the Mormons, and people who don't understand the term Gadianton. It's just this in the Book of Mormon. There are these secret organization robber types who get together like the mafia and have their secret meetings and whatnot. Oh, it sounds like the federal government.
Mm-hmm.
And other people.
Also, with all these concerns coming from the lawmakers in Salt Lake about violent entities tearing through their communities, where were they when they launched the war on drugs? Like, you gonna shut down all the jails and you're gonna shut down that?
No, they're not gonna do that because drugs are bad. We gotta get them off the streets. We gotta use violence to do so.
Yeah. I'm thinking you're full of crap. Thinking you do not actually mean any of the stuff you're saying. You're just virtue signaling so you can get yourself reelected.
Exactly.
But I mean, when would a politician ever do something like that? I must be completely out of line.
Oh, come on, Stu. Politicians only want to serve you and serve the people, except they really don't.
Yeah, they really don't. They really don't care at all about you and I.
They claim to, but they certainly don't.
Mm-hmm. Well, what else you want to talk about?
I think we've exhausted the war front. I think we've exhausted, talking about ICE. We could talk more about Mormonism. That's always an interesting topic for me, but
yeah, I don't know how much the listeners like it. We don't seem to get a lot of calls asking us questions about it. It is kind of a niche little thing. It's exciting to you and I because our families fully immersed us in it in our youth.
Yep. At least I was born of goodly parents who tried to teach me right.
Yes, born of goodly parents.
Yeah.
Did you ever see the what was it? The Book of Laban, I think it was called. There was somebody wrote a spoof book called The Book of Laban. It was like, I, Laban, having been born of nagging and pestering parents, or like something like that. It was written from his point of view.
Oh, that's funny. I haven't seen that.
The
That's pretty
disgruntled
funny.
son.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. But yeah, I don't know.
I think it's interesting to point out that in this world of insanity with Epstein and secret groups and secret cabals and things like that, the deep state, as people like to call them, and to the average person who's hearing about this and they're enraged and they want someone to lock up the people who are responsible. Well, the people who are responsible are the ones who are supposed to be the jailers in this case, but they're not going to lock their friends up, are they?
Yeah, seems kind of unlikely.
So, if you want a great man to come save you, it's not going to happen. The best thing you can do is, raise a family, have a good homestead or a farm or whatever, and live off the land the best you can, or go to work and invest in your future and your children's future.
All right, I've got a story here that we can get into on a completely different topic. This is found it activist post, as I do most of my stories, but this comes from CoinDesk, Jesse Hamilton. Title of this article is "Those Who Cheered U.S. Bitcoin Reserve Have Spent a Year Watching Trump's Order Languish." Womp womp. President Donald Trump's move to establish what he called a strategic Bitcoin reserve within the federal government was greeted with crypto sector celebration at the start of his administration. The industry cheered it as further cementing the arrival of Bitcoin as a mature asset, but a year has passed and there's still no reserve. Trump's administration performed the initial job of accounting for the government's crypto holdings, but the U.S. Bitcoin Reserve is no closer to forming because of the outcome of one concept in the March 6, 2025 order: the need for any legislation to operationalize any aspect of this order. Trump's Treasury Department lacks the needed authorizations for building the specialized accounts. That requires action from Congress, the White House has acknowledged, with Trump's crypto advisor, Patrick Witt, saying the situation presents novel legal questions that must be answered. Lawmakers such as Senator Cynthia Lummis have pitched reserve legislation, and the current best chance for passage, according to people familiar with the legislative strategy, may be to get it into the National Defense Authorization Act at the end of the year. But Trump's White House would probably have to readopt the issue as a priority cause in order to make that happen. Conjecture about the planning and funding of the reserve and its cousin, a separate digital assets stockpile also ordered by Trump to gather every other type of cryptocurrency, has ebbed and flowed. About the planning and funding of the reserve. Come on. So this is exactly my biggest problem with government, is conjecture about the planning and funding of the reserve. You know that in order for the government to have a strategic Bitcoin reserve, they're going to pay something like $50 million a year in salaries and another $500 million in wallet infrastructure or something. When they could hire me for $5,000 and I'd create them a wallet that was, full of entropy, offline on an air-gapped computer that nobody could hack, and then they could, do whatever they want with their private keys. That's just so wasteful. Like, it is not that big of a deal to hold crypto. You just put it in a wallet.
It's not, but the government has to make it a complicated process.
Make sure you have your private keys and don't give them up. That's all it takes. It's not that hard.
Yeah.
Anyways, last month, CNBC Markets talking head Jim Cramer spouted a rumor that Trump's people were poised to start filling the reserve when BTC hit 60,000, despite the lack of a place to put it or money to buy it with. Jim Cramer's a total idiot from what I hear. I've never listened to any of his stuff.
I haven't either. But it's interesting
from
that
what I've
he's
heard,
predicting this.
If you listen to what he says and then go with the opposite of it, then you'll be right more often than not.
Yeah.
The president's crypto officials continue to demur when asked how much Bitcoin the feds actually possess, though some estimates put it at more than 300,000, totaling more than $20 billion. The major disappointment from the crypto sector about Trump's Bitcoin order was that it didn't come with any new government purchases of the leading crypto asset. It instead encouraged creative policies that would allow the government to add to the stockpile without spending taxpayer dollars. Witt, Trump's advisor, hasn't been willing to share the leading ideas for obtaining more Bitcoin for the fund, which is meant to be held for long-term appreciation, not technically as a strategic reserve that would imply its contents would be released to mitigate any emergencies. The strategy is going after pig farming operations in Asian countries, from what I gather, because every couple of weeks you hear another story about U.S. government seized a whole bunch of Bitcoin from a scam operation in Indonesia or Thailand or whatever.
That's how they're building their reserves. They're stealing Bitcoin from other quote-unquote scammers.
Right, that's the strategy. And that's why he's not willing to share the leading ideas for it, is that it's theft.
Yep. And I'm sure the money that the Bitcoins that Ian has are in that pile somewhere.
Thefted right into that pile.
Yep. Never getting them back.
Theft.
That's what it is, theft.
Stealing. That's when you take things that don't belong to you. I don't know if your mother ever taught you that, government, but that's what that is, and it's not a nice thing to do. You should really stop. The White House didn't respond to a request for comment on the halt in progress, but it further underlines that executive orders, a mainstay of Trump's administration, don't have the power of law and often act as little more than a high-level steer from the president. If Trump's congressional allies come up with a pitch for the reserve bill to be tucked into the defense bill later this year, that legislative process usually concludes in December. The must-pass funding bill is often used as what D.C. insiders like to call a Christmas tree. I think I'm going to be sick. A piece of legislation on which they hang a wide array of unrelated bill ornaments because the package has to get passed. If that's the plan, it would happen in this session's lame duck period, the point at which some members of Congress will have been voted out of office or chosen to retire, like Loomis, but haven't yet come to their departure dates. Is everybody hearing this? That this is how things work and you're still okay with this?
Uh-huh.
Loomis's own Bitcoin reserve bill calls for a spending program that gets the U.S. to a holding of 1 million tokens, about 5% of the total eventual supply. The Wyoming Republican, who is the inaugural chair of the Senate Banking Committee's first Digital Assets Subcommittee, has so far only managed to get the legislation into the committee. But the panel's major priority is another crypto matter, passing the Digital Asset Market Clarity Act. That's where this article ends.
Interesting. So the U.S. government... Trump ordered the U.S. government to build a Bitcoin reserve, and now the Bitcoin reserve is supposed to be funded by stolen Bitcoins, but yet they haven't got the legislation for it to happen. I don't think this thing is going to happen.
I don't think it's going to happen either. Or maybe it will, maybe it won't, but it's pretty obvious that Trump let his crypto fans down on that one.
Well, he's let all of his fans, well, many of his fans down, but there are still people cheering for him.
Are there? Seems like almost all of his base is completely eroded at this point.
No, there are people still cheering for Trump.
Between those, the MAGA people that thought "Make America Great Again" meant no more wars of aggression, they're now disillusioned. Those who thought that Barnum statement meant, cheaper goods at home, disillusioned.
Yep.
Let's see, what else did they think that maybe that Barnum statement could actually mean? This is the problem, people. You keep falling for it when somebody says something like "Make America Great Again," and you don't ever ask them to define what that means. America what? Like the land? The people? American interests?
And what are American interests?
Foreign interests? What do you mean by America? And then what do you mean by great? Do you mean great like a bigger nuclear stockpile?
Do you mean like great economically? I mean, it's certainly not great economically. Trump wants inflation.
Do you mean great like white and delightsome? Because you might mean that with all of your ICE stuff. And then, like again compared to when. So there's a lot of, vagueness there in a statement like that, and you got to quit falling for these things, people.
Stop trusting these people with titles to come save you. They're not going to come save you.
No, they're not. And I get it if you voted for the guy because he said he'd free Ross. I get that. You're making a deal, right?
Yep, you are.
But then once you've done your part and once he's done his part, then you don't have any more allegiance to the guy. You shouldn't feel like you gotta back him up now just because you voted for him. This is nonsensical thinking. Anyways, let's do another crypto story, shall we?
Let's do it.
Russia considers simplified licensing path for bank-run crypto exchanges. Okay, so that would be like Wells Fargo running a crypto exchange?
Yep. Sounds about right.
Except the Russian equivalent?
Uh-huh. But aren't the banks government-owned in Russia?
I think so.
Huh. Interesting. But then again, I think the government owns the banks here, too.
They do.
To some extent.
They absolutely do. Through the Federal Reserve thing.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I don't know. So the government doesn't own the Federal Reserve either. The Federal Reserve pretends to be government, but they own all the banks. So whatever that equals. They did that on purpose, by the way, making it such a confusing situation that you'd never be able to make sense of it, so you wouldn't know that they're robbing more from you than you ever even had.
Yeah.
Russia's central bank is weighing a plan that would allow banks and brokerage firms to operate cryptocurrency exchanges through a simplified licensing pathway tied to their existing financial permits, according to remarks from Governor Elvira I'm not even going to try that last name. Under the proposal, financial institutions could obtain authorization to run crypto trading platforms through a notification process rather than applying for a new standalone license. The approach would allow firms that already hold banking or brokerage licenses to expand into digital assets services using their current regulatory status. Back in January, Anatoly Aksakov, head of the State Duma Committee on the Financial Market, made comments that Russia was preparing to introduce its first comprehensive regulatory framework for cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin, with lawmakers aiming to finalize the draft for a parliamentary vote by the end of June. The person whose name I couldn't pronounce presented the idea during a meeting between the central bank and Russian lending institutions, according to reports from the Interfax news agency. The governor framed the proposal as an effort to integrate cryptocurrency activity into Russia's existing financial infrastructure. Seems like a smart move to me. So if you think about it, if your bank were just offering you crypto trading solutions, I think a lot more people would get into the crypto situation.
I think they would too, because they would see that as a valid option because the bank's promoting it rather than, some company somewhere selling this digital thing and I don't know anything about it, so I don't want to buy it because I don't trust it because it's coming from somewhere else.
Mm-hmm. And people foolishly trust their banks. So
yeah.
They would likely invest in it, and that would make them, in Russia or in America, that would make them in a better financial situation than holding their native currencies, the ruble or the US dollar.
Yeah.
Because both of those are not what you want to save in. Let's see. We have proposed allowing banks and brokers to obtain crypto exchange licenses through a notification process and to act as intermediaries based on their current banking licenses, she said, adding that the sector's existing compliance frameworks could help protect customers entering the crypto market. The central bank has also outlined limits designed to manage financial risk during the early stages of integration. Under the proposal, banks' exposure to cryptocurrency activities would be capped at 1% of their capital. I wonder, maybe this article is going to get into it. I'm curious to see if it's gonna be actually like crypto exchange or if it's just like rubles for Bitcoin and you can't have any other coins kind of a thing.
That'll be an interesting discussion.
Yeah, give us a call. This is Free Talk Live. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. Let us know what you're thinking about tonight. It's Free Talk Live.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing. To be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing thing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
From Feature Story News in San Francisco, I'm Ira Spitzer with a look back at some of the week's top stories. The International Energy Agency greenlit the release of a record 400 million barrels of oil from emergency reserves in a bid to curb rising prices sparked by the war in Iran. FSN's Tony Waterman reports from Washington.
It's not clear what types of oil will be made available or how quickly it will hit the market. That will ultimately determine how impactful this release is. But it is the largest joint release in the IEA's history, accounting for roughly a third of the group's emergency stockpiles, an indication of how serious of a situation they believe this is, with concerns of a global recession rising. Oil prices have whipsawed since the start of the war, spiking as high as $119 a barrel. News of the release had little impact on crude prices, the decision already baked in.
Donald Trump said he was not happy with Iran's new pick for supreme leader. But in an interview with the New York Post, he refused to say what he would do about it. Mujtaba Khamenei was chosen by a group of clerics to replace his late father, who was killed on the first day of the war. FSN's Nick Harper reports from Washington.
Bear in mind that Mujtaba Khamenei is someone that was sanctioned back in 2019 by the US Treasury Department due to his activities in the Iranian regime. The US has, throughout this whole process, made it clear that if the person that Iran chooses to run the country is not someone that's been specifically signed off on by the US president, that person would have a target on their back in the same way that the former Ayatollah had as well. The fact that we have now someone in charge of Iran that the United States feels it cannot work with, there seems, I think, little hope for diplomacy, and therefore the fear is that what we've seen in the last 10 days will only grow and potentially widen.
The Kremlin welcomed the U.S. decision to issue a temporary waiver allowing the sale of Russian oil at sea. FSN's Daria Bondarchuk reports from Moscow.
Moscow's Special Economic Envoy Kirill Dmitriev said that the U.S. exception for countries to buy sanctioned Russian oil stranded on tankers at sea is a de facto recognition that without Russian crude, the world market cannot remain stable. Under the 30-day waiver, these shipments can be delivered and sold until April 12. Earlier, U.S. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent said the exemption would only cover oil already in transit and would not provide significant financial benefit to the Russian government. The Kremlin, commenting on the U.S. Treasury decision, said Russia and the United States share the same interest in stabilizing energy markets.
From Bureaus Worldwide,
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
It's Free Talk Live. Talk radio you control. Give us a call. The phone number here is 603-283-6160. In the studio tonight, it's Stu.
And O'Reilly O'Bill.
We were reading an article about Russia allowing their banks to function as cryptocurrency exchanges, which I think is kind of a good idea, but my feeling is it won't be everything I would hope it would be.
Yeah, it would be a mess because government wants to have the banks do it, and banks are already owned by the government in Russia, pretty much.
Yeah, and banks are always so hesitant to do anything like this. Like they might have all the permission they actually need, but they'd be scared to actually do it because, you know, like you never know when you're going to break a rule, especially in a bureaucracy like Russia. America being no better in that aspect. Like, they tell you go ahead, but then they got all these rules, and you got to have a whole team of lawyers to read through the fine print, and then your team of lawyers comes to you and says, I think we're okay to proceed like this.
Yeah.
But certainly let's watch our back for any letters from the Ministry of, the
Ministry of Finances.
Yeah. All right. Let's start by seeing how banks operate within the 1% cap, and then see whether we need to move forward, she said. The licensing proposal forms part of a broader effort by the Central Bank of Russia and the Ministry of Finance of the Russian Federation to establish a clearer legal framework for digital assets in the country. In late 2025, the central bank submitted a regulatory concept to the Russian government that would formally recognize cryptocurrencies and stablecoins as currency assets that can be bought and sold through regulated intermediaries. The framework would allow trading through exchanges, brokers, and trustees operating under existing financial licenses. At the same time, the proposal maintains a strict ban on the use of cryptocurrencies for domestic payments, a position the central bank has held for years. Digital assets would function as investment instruments rather than alternatives to the national currency. See, there it is. That thing where I was like, I don't think this is going to be as good as I'm hoping.
Yep.
There it is.
They don't want alternatives.
Don't you dare trade this with your neighbor for a loaf of bread.
Yeah.
Draft legislation reflecting the concept is expected to reach the State Duma during the spring legislative session. Deputy Finance Minister Ivan Chebeskov has indicated that lawmakers could review the bill as early as March, with the main regulatory framework scheduled to take effect on July 1st, 2026. The proposed rules would also introduce a tiered system governing who can access crypto markets. Of course it's going to have a tiered system determining whether or not I can buy some cryptos with my rubles. Qualified investors would face no limits on purchases. Non-qualified investors would be restricted to buying up to 300,000 rubles, or roughly $3,800 in crypto assets each year through a single intermediary.
So they want to control how much you get to put into crypto.
I guess so, but it sounds like, and they know it, that they're not actually controlling, because it's $3,800 in crypto assets each year through a single intermediary. So you're only limited to the amount of intermediaries you can find, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Whereas, those who are qualified can just buy all they want from their one preferred intermediary. Especially I'm sure they're aware that if you just buy the stuff on the street from a guy who's got it, there's unless they report on themselves, there's no way for you, Russian government, to know that they bought it.
And that's the way to get around it.
Russia updated the definition of qualified investor last year. Individuals may now qualify based on several criteria, including a master's degree in finance, annual income of at least 20 million rubles, or meeting property ownership thresholds set by regulators. Hey, that's, I don't know, better than U.S., right? They have one requirement, and say you have, I think, $10 million in a bank account or something.
Probably.
To be a qualified investor. That's one of the rules that makes me absolutely furious. How dare you tell me that just because I don't have as much money as you, I can't invest in the thing that's obviously going to make money?
Yeah.
Come on, man. That's capitalism for you, though, right? Those who have the capital get to make more, and those who don't.
Well, unfortunately, that's the way capitalism runs.
Yep. Russia updated the definition of, and I know that's not real capitalism, whatever, we can argue about that all you want. Give us a call, 603-283-6160, and let's argue about what real capitalism is. Russia updated the definition of qualified investor last year. Yeah, okay, I just read that. Those wealth requirements are scheduled to rise in 2026 when the property threshold increases from 12 million rubles to 24 million rubles. Yeah, well, that was the thing that might have been good for Russia, but it sounds like they're just gonna mess it all up because that's what governments do.
Yeah, they do. Unfortunately.
Yeah. Got anything else you want to talk about?
Nothing off the top of my head. I feel like we've exhausted all the topics that I want to talk about. And we could talk about your plans for St. Patrick's Day if you want.
I'm very confused by the whole St. Patrick's thing. Apparently it's, let's see if I got this right. This was an English dude that went to Ireland and cast all the snakes off the island.
Allegedly.
But then if you look at the real story, it's nothing like that.
Yeah.
But it's an excuse to drink way too much green beer for Bostonians.
It is. It's an excuse to drink a lot of green beer and an excuse to throw a party. Believe in leprechauns and pots of gold.
Yeah, I don't really do that holiday. Some of the holidays I do, some of them I don't. That one, not so much.
Do your kids do that holiday?
St. Patrick's? No.
Okay.
My kids are not going to drink green beer.
Okay. What about
or go to Mardi Gras? Or
what about do like leprechaun thing, like leave a shoe out or something, maybe get some coins?
That's just part of regular life. The fairies come and visit them and leave stuff in there in a little fairy mailbox.
Oh.
From time to time.
Well, that's cool.
Uh-huh.
What kind of fairies?
Probably woodland sprites.
Okay.
Not exactly sure. You'd have to ask them.
All right.
They do enjoy their visits from the fairies. For some reason, they only come in the middle of the night, though.
Well, the fairies got to operate in the middle of the night because, they can't be seen by people for whatever reason.
All right. Here's the thing Riley wanted to talk about. See if we can get through this one. This is Fed's move to dismiss charges against Army veteran who burned American flag near White House. This is a story from March 14th. The Justice Department has moved to dismiss charges against an Army veteran who set fire to an American flag near the White House last year to protest President Donald Trump's executive order on flag burning.
So he was exercising his freedom of speech to burn a piece of cloth, a sky cloth.
Yeah, some people get, I don't know. Like, I get it, you're upset because he just banned free speech, because burning the American flag is free speech.
Yeah.
Whether you like that or not. Free speech doesn't mean speech that we all like. It means speech that somebody wants to say, even if it's offensive. So, so this guy was very upset about Trump saying, you can't burn the flag anymore. Jay Carey, 55, of Arden, North Carolina, who has said he served in the Army from 1989 to 2012 and was deployed to Iraq and Afghanistan, was arrested on August 25th after he set fire to a flag in Lafayette Park, which the National Park Service oversees. Earlier that day, Trump signed an executive order requiring the Justice Department to investigate and prosecute people for burning the American flag. Kerry was charged with 2 misdemeanors that aren't focused on the act of burning a flag: igniting a fire in an undesignated area and lighting a fire causing damage to property or park resources. So I guess this must have been the park's flag.
I guess so.
He pleaded not guilty in September. Friday's filing did not explain the decision to move to dismiss, and the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of Columbia did not immediately respond on Saturday to an email seeking comment. They usually don't tell you when they dismiss a case why they've done so, and it's usually because they're embarrassed about something.
Huh. I wonder why they should at least give some rationale why they want to dismiss something.
Well,
that should be important.
I would guess because it's embarrassingly in violation of America's celebrated tradition of free speech.
Yeah.
So they should have known better in the first place, and I'm guessing what happened is they just kind of tucked it away until later. And now that it's later, they're like, we're going to dismiss this quietly and hope nobody notices. That's my guess. The Supreme Court has ruled that flag burning is a legitimate political expression protected by the Constitution. Trump's order asserted that burning a flag can be prosecuted if it is likely to incite imminent lawless action or amounts to fighting words. I set out to demonstrate that the First Amendment is sacred and that no administration has the right to supersede our constitutional rights, Kerry said in a statement from the Partnership for Civil Justice Fund. I was targeted for federal prosecution because of that. I'm glad to stand with all those who are fighting for our fundamental rights and hope that this victory can help the next person who takes a stand. It shows people that the Constitution still matters, Kerry said when reached by telephone on Saturday. Mara Verheyden Hilliard, one of Kerry's lawyers and fund co-founder, said the prosecution shouldn't have been brought. Yeah, it definitely shouldn't have been. The government's attempt to criminally punish a protester based on an expressive conduct targeted for prosecution by presidential order posed a grave threat to First Amendment freedoms. She said in a statement, the government's about-face is a critical vindication of those rights. This case also lays the groundwork for defending those across the country who are targeted for vindictive prosecution by the Trump administration in an effort to silence and punish viewpoints it doesn't like. No, it's not. This isn't going to help you in that regard in any way. The guy wasn't even charged with anything regarded to free speech. He was charged with setting fires. This is stupid. And also, they'll trample over your rights anytime they feel like it.
Of course they will.
You gave them the power to protect it. They'll protect it until they feel like they don't want to, and then they'll trample right over them.
Yep.
I don't give them that power. My rights came from nature or from God or however you want to look at that, and they're up to me to protect. That was the original deal, right? Government was an exchange. They're going to protect my natural and God-given rights that are mine and not theirs, and they don't grant them to me. They were just there to protect them, right? And I was going to not be a jerk to them and help them out as much as was reasonable. That was the original deal. They violated that contract a long time ago, pretty much as soon as it started.
I know.
So that's about enough of that. All right.
We've talked about how the government has been ruining our lives and taking us to war. What do you think a good solution to this whole thing is? Like, I've suggested, building a farm and raising a family, but do you think that's the best solution still?
That's the Ernie Hancock idea of occupy the land, and I think it's brilliant, but I don't think it's enough. I think we either find a way to form micronations that are gamified out sufficiently that they have built-in protections and are able to compete on a parallel sort of trajectory. Either we find a way to decentralize our own governance or it's just going to keep getting worse.
Yeah.
How we decentralize our own governance, I don't know. People have tried plenty of really good ideas, like freedom cells is a good idea, but how do you get everybody to sign up for that? And
it's hard to convince a lot of people to sign up for something they don't really understand, or even if a lot of people do, how do you maintain them?
Mm-hmm. Right, and that's another thing is it seems like more work needs to be done to the infrastructure there, so there's more capacity for linking cells together and gaining the synergy of the added individuals that have grouped together for a common cause.
Yeah.
Maybe it could even be incentivized somehow through cryptocurrency. I feel like it's a large key to freeing ourselves still is the cryptocurrency thing. Not Bitcoin necessarily. And any crypto you make, you gotta any crypto is vulnerable to being hijacked just like Bitcoin was. So the only thing that gives me some optimism about the crypto thing is that it's a new way of doing it. You can spin up your own code, and the system can operate as long as everybody using it agrees that they're, that their rules are the ones they want to follow.
Yeah.
That's a pretty amazing thing that's got huge potential for humanity if we can figure out how to use it right before we're all, put into the pod matrix style and harvested for our warmth or whatever. Because that's where, Skeeter's evolutionary capitalism, that's where that leads. Because what's most efficient of humans is to back off and let the machines do everything.
Yep.
But that's not living, and that kind of defeats the entire purpose of being human. So you might as well just wipe out all the humans and take the viewpoint that they're a cancer upon the earth or whatever, as is such a popular opinion among the well-educated of this world. Yeah, that's a notion that blows my mind. But you got even I think it was Prince Charles' dad who said that when he died, he wanted to come back as a super gnarly virus that wiped out more than half of the world's population or something because he just hated humans so much.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I've heard that. That's really, really crazy.
Yep, and that's the way that your rulers that you call leaders look at you. As a cancer upon the earth that they would rather just get rid of.
Yeah.
So, keep hoping for them to care about you and to make things right.
I think the best thing we can do is, like you said, decentralize, but also create a better parallel system than what the government has. And that's always hard to do because it's hard to get people together to build something for a common cause when we have this system already here, like government.
Yeah, slavery's so much easier, right?
It is.
Why would we abolish the current form of slavery when it seems to be working out so well for everybody? Oh, except that it's not.
Oh, but it's so great. Everyone has jobs and
everybody could be so upset about whatever the topic of the day is.
Yeah.
And also, you got entertainment galore. Just turn on the television.
You pull up your YouTube app. You can find anything you want.
You got such WWE characters as Pete Hegseth.
Yeah.
Spouting some nonsense, or Christy Noem just got new hair extensions or whatever, and that's always fun to look at, right? Entertainment.
Yeah. Oh, and Christy Noem was fired recently.
Was she?
Yeah.
Well, that didn't come soon enough. She was horrible. I don't know why she had a job in the government, let alone at Dunkin' Donuts. She's probably incapable of doing anything.
Well, she was the former governor of South Dakota, I believe.
Okay.
And they didn't lock anybody down very hard there, so the champion of freedom in a way, but still evil for working for a tyrannical organization.
To me, she seems like maybe she's not evil, just dumb and ineffective. Just one of those people who have been given the easy path in life because of how they look or who they were born to, or whatever. They won the birth lottery. So for some reason, their entire life is just going to be charmed, and they're never going to have anything hard to deal with. That's what she seemed like to me. Hegseth is nuts. Marco Rubio's nuts. Donald Trump is still hilarious and nuts. So much funnier than, let's see, Hillary was not going to be funny at all. And Kamala, you could laugh at her, but not funny. Her insane cackling and nonsensical ramblings about Venn diagrams and stuff, that wasn't going to play well, but Trump's entertaining. He makes me laugh.
Well, it's definitely entertaining to watch, people either really, really love him and love what he's doing and say deport people harder or whatever. We need to go to war because we need to save the Iranian people, or for whatever reason, they love him. And then you got the other side who gets all bent in a tizzy and they say, I need to leave America. I feel unsafe because I'm trans. Well, 3 years later, they're going to come back and I'm safe now.
Yeah, that's a nonsensical way to look at things. None of the agendas would have been different under Hillary or anybody else. Like, things went under Biden the way it would have gone had that been Trump's term.
Yeah.
Anyways, like the script is written and the actors may change, but it doesn't it's what's going to happen is what's going to happen. They're just entertaining you along the way so that you don't get out of your seat and walk away from the show, because they need your attention to make the whole thing come off. Otherwise, they just look like a bunch of jokers doing backyard wrestling. So, you might want to consider withdrawing your attention from it and focus your efforts on something in real life.
Yep, and that's the thing, is people want to pay attention to the political show going on the political television, if you will. And they forget all about the things at home, like, how do I plant a garden? How do I feed myself with fruits and veggies? How do I make sure I'm healthy? Things like that. And I'm guilty of this too. I'm not talking to the American people and the listeners here as though I'm holier than thou and perfect at everything. I need to get healthier. I'm turning 40 this year, and so, getting healthy is important, and making sure that my body lasts another 20, 30 years or 40 years if necessary.
Yep, we could all do better. There's always room for improvement, even for those who seem like they're doing it perfectly. Everybody can point out at least a couple of spots where they could do it better.
Yep.
So, yep, I'm excited about growing some vegetables this year. We're going to give it our best shot. See how that goes.
That'll be awesome.
Yep. Homegrown vegetables always taste better.
Probably because they're not mechanically made at a store, or not made at a store, but grown in a greenhouse where they're competing for chemicalized soil.
Drenched in glyphosate, which is now a matter of national security. Thanks again, Trump.
You're welcome.
This has been Free Talk Live. There will be a show tomorrow, to which you can call in and let us know what you were thinking about tonight and didn't call us for. Thanks. It's Free Talk Live. Peace.
If you're looking for work, you know the math. There are many more applicants than openings, so you need to stand out, not blend into the blah, blah, blah your interviewer is hearing from your competition. Here's a tip. In your interview, you will be judged more by the questions you ask than the answers you give. Yes, do anticipate the obvious job interview questions and prepare concise, insightful, glass-half-full sounding responses. And you should interview your interviewer. Seem genuinely curious about what will help get results. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. You want to cut through the clutter. For more tips for job seekers and making all the other conversations you have more productive, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds